Oh, so you didn't bring that guitar? That's actually Gabe's guitar.
That's Gabe's guitar.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought that
I just pick it up every now and then. I just pick it up and play around with it, but
just assumed that you were
Start playing
Hey,
some.
with him on the-
We're about to go live, so start playing some more.
What painter
Come
does
with that. All right. Keep going. Keep going.
That's real.
Oh, yeah,
You need your timer?
I just set it right there on the phone, so we're good to go. So we're live. I just hit to go live, so we're live. A few people will start showing up here shortly.
You have the timer for how long?
Well, for 30 minutes, because my camera will only record for 30 minutes before it shuts off. It's recording onto a hard drive, the live stream.
Yeah.
But when I do the editing later, I don't want this. I want the high 4K version recorder, so I can do more editing stuff. So
So we're live?
yeah, we're live.
Alright. Well, let's do a little intro then.
Welcome to Happy Hour-ish with my friend David Cabby, Albert Valdez, and Jesper Ankarfeldt. This is
It's frozen.
yeah.
It's not meant to go.
That's okay because this is just a shared screen, so just
So
we
now I
can
just
see.
wanted to make sure that
Yeah, yeah.
you're not talking to a
I hope we're not frozen. If we are, you're welcome.
Too bad. It's like the opposite of speed drawing. It's like
Slow.
It's my first day. No, it looks like it's streaming pretty good here.
Very
Good films per second, frame per second. Megabits. Yeah, it looks good. We're doing good. All right.
So what are you gonna be working on?
I am working on a painting I started last week. My friend Elliot, who's supposed to work a bunch of paintings, I'm just doing a musician, guitar player. So I'm gonna be working on that. While, like I said, we have a film music composer, Jesper Ankarfeldt.
Ankarfeldt.
Gotta like put a little bit of background into it. Ankarfeldt.
We kind of tend to cut a lot of words or a lot of letters in our pronunciation, so the R is not really Ankarfeldt.
Yes, so you're just efficient at language more than the rest of the English speaking.
I guess, or harder to misunderstand.
Like we don't need no stupid R's.
Harder to misunderstand. There's always an embarrassment about spelling
Oh
names
shit! I
wrong.
just bumped this camera like I do all the time. No, we're still good.
Yes, probably still good. We're good. Yeah.
No, we are not good. It is not good. But, let's see how that looks.
Need a.
It's almost there. Man, we had it all set up and then I come out with my stupid big head.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how that looks. Pretty close. All right, we got it. All right, good enough. Good enough for what we're doing here.
Good enough for government work.
Yeah.
Really,
The government could do much better than what we're doing.
Yeah.
Actually, probably not.
yeah.
I don't know.
Public access TV, take one. So the theme I think today is music and art.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, the Kickstarter I have been running. The Kickstarter is completed. Ended at 8 a.m. this morning, and we met all the stretch goals. All the books are funded now. We topped out at a little over $63,000. So that is truly crazy. It's amazing. Thank you guys for everyone that supported the project, and I'll be getting to work on getting those things out as soon as possible. So, anyways, we're here celebrating. We got a bottle of sparkling something, rose sparkling water, sparkling something. What do we have over there, Dave?
So this is Doxy's Charm, a rosé sparkling wine from Sonoma County. It was
Nice.
provided by highwaymanwines.com. So
There
Thank
you go.
you, Highwayman Wines.
Yes, thank you
for,
very much.
Doxy's charm. I'll crack that open.
Well,
for
let's
us.
taste it before we start thinking of too much.
What are the results like first?
This is where then you pop the bottle and then you do the cut to 5 hours later.
Yeah, it's what happy hour issues all about.
Edit later.
I'm just getting my painting mediums here set up, guys. So
What mediums do you have there?
I'm using liquid, and a little bit of linseed oil. Getting the scabs of it off the top. And probably not going to be doing anything too serious on this painting right now.
It seems like you have most of the composition set already.
Yeah, the composition's there. I mean, the overall part of it is, now it's just kind of refining things. So I'm not sure where I'll start. I'm not sure how much painting at all I'm going to get done. Champagne going over here. Music.
You start to dip your pencils in the champagne.
Yeah, we'll try to avoid that.
Yeah, painting drunk is not as like, it only works in movies.
Jackson Pollock, is that
Yeah, maybe Jackson.
I think he was a little more than drunk.
Yeah, and he could be messy. You know? But man, if you try it thinking it works, and it's the worst.
Yeah, it sounds better. It's like Vegas. It sounds better than it is, really.
Yeah.
Like, you think it's going to be awesome, and then you got cigarette burns in your arm.
Pick on Vegas,
And you
man.
smoke.
Same like clubs, you know, they turn the lights on, and you're like, oh yeah, okay.
Well,
I'll set us up.
But it's very different, I think, people. How pass this one on.
Sure, thanks.
How much you can focus, or how much alcohol affects your creativity. Like I blank out after one beer.
Well, see,
It's like
yeah.
it's
You
at
just need
least
more practice.
the focus is not there. Yeah. Well, no, the thing is, it's with composing, with music playing, I can be blackout and I'll still play.
You can just
Oh,
play
just-
it,
yeah,
your
just-
fingers,
Yeah,
your
it's
fingers take
because
over.
it's like that's
It's
almost like a
motivating.
reptile brain
Yeah,
for me,
yeah, I know what you mean.
where
scoop that way a little bit.
I need to be more,
There you go.
definitely more conscious.
Same with painting, it's a technical aspect of it that you start to lose.
Yeah.
Because you want to be,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, guys, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for being here
it's
today.
a successful campaign.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Successful campaign.
Yeah, got it.
You know,
Yeah.
built on your paintings.
To Friday, damn it.
Friday for the most.
So that is pretty good.
Yeah.
So no more, thank you.
Highwayman Wines. Yeah, if you're ever in Sonoma, go to Highwayman
Yeah,
Wines.
well, let's have some music.
Check out some of the.
I'm gonna set mine over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix this chair too, so that we can. There you go.
Yeah, most people don't, do you always paint with music?
Usually, or some sort of book on tape or lecture or comedians or
Yeah.
whatever things. Yeah.
I never understood, like in museums, it's like you go in there and it's silent, and you're looking at the painting in silence.
It can be good to do that a lot of times.
But I always like to know how it was when it was in the artist studio. You
Well-
know, sometimes it's basically built around music, you know.
Well, you see music movies without music scores on
Yeah,
it. It's
it
weird.
changes
Like,
it, yeah.
have you seen those Star Wars videos
Oh
where
yeah.
they just
Yeah.
they cut out all the music and
You
they
hear the
just
footsteps.
those are the, it's like, oh wow. Like, you don't realize how important the music is until it's not there.
Yeah.
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 I mean, put on headphones. I went to the David Bowie at Brooklyn museum they had, and you were able to walk around with headphones, and it was like, that's to the whole
Yeah.
experience.
But maybe that's the reason why the museum doesn't really
Pulls
do
it
it.
away from the work itself.
Yeah, it's like color it in a certain direction, where the
Whenever they have jazz outside, like a jazz live concert, and you can hear it like going through the hallways.
Are you thinking Lachma?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, Oliver works at Lackner, by the way.
Yes.
So what do you do?
Run a program with schools, but run a program where we send artists out to schools throughout the areas where I've had schools that have no art programs, like there's zero. Begins with walking down the hallways and you're like, there's nothing here.
Wow.
And
In
no
short,
arts.
Albert's doing the Lord's work.
Ish. You know, I mean, for the museum. So I work at the museum, but I have the fortune of being away from it, mostly in the community and all that.
Sure.
And
So-
home base is there.
So the museum tries to bring art out to the schools, or bring the schools.
Well,
in?
yeah. So what funders will do is the notion of museums is now that museums have to pick up the pieces in the arts. You know, schools aren't. You know, otherwise. So, and I've had actually people from Tate Modern come over and chat with me because Tate wants to do that too. The idea of museums in general, just how do you impact not only your surrounding communities, but how do you build future clients, future patrons, and that's by getting them, educating them from the get-go. And so what I do is go and we just bring in art into these schools, and we realize how important art is to the development of the school.
Yeah.
Not everyone is writing arithmetic or you know history. And there's no avenue for it anymore.
I mean,
I was too. I was too. You can give instructions, and once that's all visually drawn out
yeah.
in one way, then
Bring an even noisier chair in here.
It's supposed to be the first like school that existed was music schools. Like that was the first learning that we did. That was the first
really
knowledge.
street.
Yeah, it's like knowledge sharing, whatever. Yeah. No, I think not necessarily Greek, but I don't know. I just remember reading about how fundamental art had been, and also all the studies that are how being creative expands your whole awareness. And then in modern society, we just cut it down and say, well, we don't put resources into it in schools a lot as well. And it's like, but this is what they actually kind of profit from, or like gain from on multiple ways.
It does, because one of the ways, there's two ways to build, to be world again, to build like empathy, I'll just say that, of understanding is like being a world traveler, or appreciating various cultures and museums, like, and various experiences in the eyes of others. By experiencing that, you're developing who you are, you're developing your character, because you have that sort of awareness and understanding. And people forget that when you knock art out, you lose that growth. So then in school, you're not being taught that. In school, you're being taught, memorize this and memorize that. You're not being taught how to develop. So I see it. Because there's kids that are like, oh, I was like walking, like, oh, be careful with that kid, he's a troublemaker, blah, blah. You know, a few weeks later, the best artist, you know, and calm.
Yeah.
You know, like, this doesn't happen, you know. He doesn't have a guitar, you know, maybe he'll do something.
Yeah, it's really not coming down to everybody has to be artists. It's just about
Expressive.
Yeah.
And I tell that to people when I'm teaching a class, I'm like, I don't care how well you paint the apple. I'm not even looking at that.
No.
I'm like, I want to see.
Because it's not even an apple. We're not paying. We're paying a pot right now.
Yeah, we're paint on it. Yeah. But the idea is learn the material, spread that paint around. I want to do that. I want to do the whole, you know, and yeah. I think a lot of people make the wrong impression that painting is, you know, sit there and try to develop detail.
Yeah.
It's like, no, learn the material, learn what all these, you know.
And then 20 years later, I'm still trying not to get caught up in details.
That's the struggle. And that's the artist's struggle forever.
What is it about details that's so fascinating?
It's just like it's like they'll see.
Well, I mean, it
Yeah.
is. I do feel like depth, like the depth that you go into your art. That's sort of often what fascinates me. I think fascinates everybody. That I think that's the whole obsession with talent shows. That somebody's really good at something.
That's right.
then
Talent
the-
shows. I forgot about that. Yeah.
But the tragic comic thing about that is that, I mean, not to say anything about all the people
Yeah.
being there or judges or whatever, or that whole thing, but it's rarely the people that dedicate their whole life
yes.
to become really good at something that you would see at those. It's more these like
Fun.
15 minutes
Yeah.
of fame
Fame, yeah.
flashes type of
Yes.
things, where it's like,
What if you get really good at being 15 minutes of fame? Like you got extended to 45 minutes of fame.
And then you
so
keep
gotta-
extending it. That's the goal. The goal is to extend that, and it's your own 15 minutes.
How do you know when it's 15 minutes of fame and it was just, or you know, at what point does it become fame?
That's a thing. I mean,
well, when people are,
When it's
I
15
guess,
minutes
talking about you at the dinner table, and then they don't talk about you the next day, and they will never talk about you.
I think it's when you go to like Rite Aid and people recognize you.
That's
Yeah.
fame.
Hey, are you? I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, what?
Yeah.
Like, do I need to
Hey,
start
so and so.
somebody punking me?
I remember when I did one of my first show and I sold paintings. I thought before that would be the most amazing thing in the world, and I realized I was like, no, it just puts more not pressure, but you realize you're unsatisfied,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, then
Mm.
what's the next set of paintings or what's the next set? And so I don't even think they're, fame is there. Fame is so abstract that it's just you want that
I
longevity.
think what you're hitting on is people feel like it's not worth doing unless you can keep doing it.
Unless you keep doing it, and longevity is what is the meat of it all.
But yeah, but I think like it's also this obsession with fame today that has
Yes.
that's
Oh,
like
yeah.
completely twisted.
Completely.
Where
Yes.
I don't think any like art person like who starts doing something, they do it because they enjoy it, they have fun.
Yeah.
It's never with that trajectory of,
Of like this
of-
instant, just
yeah,
you know?
going
It's like-
there and I honestly feel art is not very merciful. Like to do something you love, it's like tough because you don't necessarily get anything back. There's no guarantee. There's no job waiting for you. It's a lot of it is just like,
What?
Now you tell me!
I quit.
30 years too late, and now you're telling me that. Huh?
I never could find
I
a
tell
job.
Gabe,
That's why
none
I'm
of-
doing this.
I tell him none of those obstacles apply to him. It applies to 99% of the people that want to get in the field.
No, it did. I was like, I
Yeah.
sold my art on the street because that was a better option than anything else I had. Like,
Yeah.
like I could, like the job I had at Macy's didn't pay more than selling color copies from Kinko's in the street. That's how shitty
Yeah.
the wages are in this town, even
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
I do, and that's funny. I feel like now I moved to LA 2 years ago,
Yeah.
but I do feel that because of like the lack of security, social security, and all that, it does force people to be more extreme in their measures and their decisions, and I see people daring to take more risks in their filmmaking, which is what I came for.
Yeah. Got it.
Because it's like we have to try. Where in Denmark it's a little bit more. I'm not gonna try because I'm too comfortable as it is. Like
Well,
I'm not gonna risk everything.
Complacency is your.
Well, that is
worst-
when you're young. Like, so I worked at Macy's. I was like 22 years old. I could afford to like
Hand kick back.
swing over the fences and miss. You know, like
Yeah.
I didn't have.
You
a
can take a
family or
big,
anything.
big.
Yeah.
Oh, it's how you live your life. Like I purposely live my life for that reason. Is if I need to make a major change, I can. Major risk, I can.
Yeah.
Because I love that.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
You know, I have an office job still.
Hmm.
At work, but my what I go for is coming here to the brewery
Mhm.
and then building that sort of passion.
But
You're also out and about a lot too, Albert. Like you're always out on at the schools and stuff. You're not just like sitting at a desk.
No, yeah, not just in the
Right.
but just the idea of like you're working for someone else.
Do you
know?
provide art for the schools, or do you provide programs for the schools, for the students to have art?
Yeah, so what I do is I provide a little bit of both. I go in and establish a relationship with the principal and the school, and then I bring in a group of artists that do every grade level. And so they visit every single classroom. And I just kind of schedule them, prep them for it, and make sure that the communication is there.
So they're doing art classes.
So they're doing our class. So what happens is one of our teachers will walk in, Mrs. Johnson's second grade class, and from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Do a second grade lesson, and then the next 10 to 11 go to the next class,
Okay.
11 to 12 the next class. And
That's
so
really cool. And those are for schools that these.
They
Nothing.
have
They got
zero.
nothing.
They don't even know how to watercolor, how to even use it. They're like going into it. I'm like, no. And so it's just the idea of like this. I tell them this is your opportunity right now to make mistakes. Go for it. Don't sit
Yeah.
there detailing something small. Go for it.
yeah.
So it works, and only because it's a museum and it's great funding. But other than that, a lot of nonprofits can't do that.
Then you get through you guys. I got my painting grants back there somewhere.
Talking about mistakes and failing.
So
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
us about the
Yes,
story
that's
behind this
amazing.
instrument. I want to hear.
So after arriving here in LA, I meet a guy, an Egyptian, who's gonna make this amazing film, and we bond a lot. So I'm gonna make the music for his film. So now I'm just into 60s Egyptian music. and I went to Egypt, and he showed me around, showed all the places, and then I bought this one here, which is an oud.
It's an oud.
Oud,
OUD.
OUD,
Okay.
which is represented in most of the Arabic
Arabic,
music.
okay.
Yeah, it's sort of like that their guitar, and we talked about how
Yeah.
it's obviously
Western
before guitar, like it.
Before the Western, before
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah. This is Granddaddy.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Look how simpler this
yeah.
got.
Yeah.
But
And that's 12 strings, or how many ones?
yeah, 11 strings.
11.
I mean, I'm still finding my way around, and it's more like that idea: if you can't fail, then
Exactly.
how are
you
you gonna
Yeah,
learn?
Exactly.
It's
That's
like
all of these are double on his, and except for the
Yeah.
bass is single.
On that one, okay. That's all that, yeah.
And no frets, which is crazy. So there's no metal at all. It's just all.
yeah, it's. I'll play a little bit. Should almost compare them. I can't find the. Where the? Oh, here it is. But it's.
Did you use this on our film?
No, but I'm gonna do.
Yeah!
Because I'm planning, because it has like, yeah, of course, this is a Western guitar. This would compare more to a Spanish guitar because it's nylon strings.
Right.
And a thing you can do on a guitar is, it's like
That's the really
Yeah.
Arabic sound there,
Yeah,
too.
you hear it?
Yeah.
You can just do that all throughout the scene.
but obviously, I mean, I got this a couple of weeks ago, and still, yeah. I think I feel most comfortable in C minor on this one.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting that the musical identity of their music is so different from, it's like where it's sort of based. But it's funny, like when you play that, can you play that a little bit louder? That to me sounds like a children's song.
Yeah.
And then when I play it on this, I need to find an open string here, but
Yes. I mean, it just has that fuller sound. I mean,
Yeah.
you can
It's
do a
like-
woman's
That sounds
hand.
cultural.
Yeah,
That doesn't sound like
cultural,
children.
yeah,
That did sound. You
Yeah.
said that. That's
Yeah.
true.
so that's it's just funny how. I mean, I almost feel the culture or the arts.
Yeah. And
Or like you just look at it. I mean, guitars
It's-
are beautiful as well,
but no,
this,
that's just a
this
gorgeous.
is
that is a gorgeous.
where did this come from? Not from my culture.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous
but
piece.
but it's so cool that you can actually go out
Yeah.
and to me it becomes a whole study of
Yeah.
culture, politics,
Yeah, everything.
music.
Everything is in
Everything
ancient
becomes
antiquity.
and the I mean now I'm specifically focused on Egypt, which is like that of course have that legacy of ancient Egypt,
Yes.
which I don't necessarily think is sort of focused down into this instrument or their music that I'm studying like from the 60s,
Yes.
but it's there in the culture and in the proudness of the people.
Yeah.
That the people have a self-awareness that not a lot of
Outsiders would have.
it's just like how old is your history?
Exactly.
It's like
Like when you
Yeah.
plug that
Mhm.
sound someone heard thousands of
Yeah.
years ago. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just crazy.
yeah.
When you put that into perspective.
I mean, I think what the whole Western music, the 12 tone,
Yeah.
like the piano, tempered piano, Mozart, Bach, that
Yes.
whole thing, that's, I mean, pretty amazing what we've done there as well.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think it's the beauty of the different aspects and getting to go in. I mean, we also did a film that explores cultures outside of Western, of the Western society, even though we're so involved in it.
Yeah.
I pull a lot of inspiration.
Well,
Also
the-
brought some Indian flutes.
Nice.
But-
The idea that a film doesn't feel, you don't feel like you're in that place until you hear the music or the sound from that
The
place.
sound.
For instance, so many films in the past have done that with cliche music, right? But then when you can actually really tie in the cultural sound, it really brings you to
Yeah.
that place, you know.
And even when it's like that, very minimal, just coming down the hallway sound, you know.
What are you doing, Gabe?
Yeah, what are you working on?
I'm working on a hand.
And obviously lights bouncing off the hand.
Yeah, bouncing is like, so most of this character is in shadow, so a lot of it is just reflected light.
Actually, oh yeah, okay.
So do you gray around it, or do you highlight the
So there's a lot of gray tones. So I'm using a cadmium red light with indigo blue to kind of mix the main flesh tone, and then I'm adding like a yellow ochre or raw sienna to it to warm it up a little bit, and then I have these pre-mixed grays over here to neutralize it somewhat.
What's the bright orange used for? Mixing into.
Yeah, this is like the sort of base flesh tone. It gives that really super warmth. So I mix with that indigo blue, which is really cold. It creates this really. If I leave it, we get enough of this cadmium red light in that, it'll be really dark or warm grayish tone. And the flesh tones tend to look more like flesh tones if they're warm in temperature. So it's just a matter of finding the right balance in those tones to a certain degree.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about how you are kind of combating like detail and whatnot in music. Is that a constant struggle for you when you're composing a film?
I think there's a saying I learned pretty early on, which is not how good can you make it, but how good can you make it in the time that you have.
Yeah.
So that's definitely talking about detail or perfectionism, but also talking about craftsmanship. Because I think, I don't know, I do reach points where I'm like, okay, this is done. I'm out of ideas, and maybe it's because I'm not more skillful than that to actually expand further than what I've just done. Or maybe it's because it's actually done. Like it's actually a super interesting conversation. It's like, when is an art piece done? Whether it's a sculpture, whether it's music, whether it's a dance performance, when is it like perfect done? Because we are perfectionists, and that's usually what we come from. I don't think I know anyone doing art being like, yeah, I like to make half crappy things.
I know,
like that's because we start. The starting point is I do something I love, so it's about perfection.
Sure.
But to the viewer, it's done.
Yeah,
In
and
most
I mean,
cases.
and also
Listener.
our eye for detail, like you being the performing force behind your eye for detail is obviously much deeper. So that's that. But since I usually work on films with people with deadlines, I need to cut to the bone and say,
I think deadlines really help you to narrow your focus.
It does help.
because that would be my next question, since like in this sense you're a bit more your own boss here.
Yeah.
Okay, how much?
Well, I set deadlines for myself, where
Yeah.
it's like a show or an event, so.
But for a painting, is it like, I'm not gonna
Well,
paint more on this one, then I don't know how many hours, like you said.
no,
that-
sometimes it gets to the point where you don't know what to do with it, but
Yeah.
you don't know if it's quite finished or not.
Yeah.
And so generally I consider a painting is finished when I'd rather look at it than work on it.
Yeah, when you find yourself staring at it more and more
Mm.
than actual adding things, you'll always add something to it.
Yeah.
You can.
And often, if I get to a point where I feel like it's not quite finished and I don't know what to do to it, I just set it to the side, work on something else.
Yeah.
Because often it is finished and you're trying to go in and test something up is gonna make something heavy-handed and
With but that makes me think, because with music you can get used to how things sounds.
Yeah.
I guess with
Yeah, you can get the same way you can't even tell what you're looking at anymore.
Yeah,
You're
it's
kind
like-
of colorblind to it. You're
Yeah.
just like you can't trust your own judgment.
But then when you leave it for
There's no
a
better.
day or
Yeah.
2 or a year,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm hearing music that I've
Yeah.
done for
Yeah.
like 3 years ago, and I'm like, was that me?
Yeah.
Oh, and sometimes I'm positively surprised as well.
It almost grows on you, but for one, there's no better truth than morning sun.
Yeah.
When you wake up the next day after working on it all night, the next morning you wake up and you stare at it with,
That's true. That's why I like to work in the daylight.
yeah, and you
As much as
just,
possible.
Well, you worked at night for years.
I did, yeah.
And just met you.
And now that I have this daylight, it's like I'm kind of a snob about it.
yeah, it just shows you everything.
You can see what you're doing a little more clearly color-wise.
And another thing is photographing it. And then you photograph it, and at least for me,
Yeah.
and I'll look at it, look at the painting, look at the photograph, and I see something tweaked a little on the photograph.
Yeah,
And then I start noticing it. Whether it's like a building just slightly leaning slightly, where in the painting it gets away with it, but in the photograph it doesn't. Something's up. But you can't always depend on the photograph because it's easy to fool the camera. The camera will fill in spots for you,
yeah.
and it makes it look much more detailed than it really is.
Yeah,
A lot
interesting.
of images.
I wonder what that would compare to in music, like this ability to sort of go away. I think what we do is usually you listen on different speakers.
That's what I was gonna say. So
Like,
you guys in a car,
yeah.
in a studio.
Yeah, that. But and then in my studio I have like tons of different headphones and different
Exactly,
speakers
yeah.
that I can always, and sometimes I'll throw it over on my iPad or iPhone just to hear
Yeah.
how does it measure up, and you hear other details.
Same thing with artists. The same thing. I think Gabe and I have talked about it before. We're also formatting paintings based on how people look at most paintings, and that is on the phone.
Yeah.
That,
Well,
you know.
formatting the way I record
4:3 or
things.
whatever?
Yeah, but also how your composition is, how it can get a viewer to stop and look at it, you know, and fill in, and sort of obviously imagery and figurative goes well.
Well, the first key to that visually is just the overall composition.
Composition.
So without any detail, just
Yeah.
the shaping
Yeah.
works you all the way,
Yes.
zigzags you through the composition,
Yeah.
and that's what creates some interest. And then you can kind of filter into the way the hands look
Exactly.
and all that stuff. Then you can get caught in detail. So you want to sort of curate the viewer through your painting. Whereas if they just glance at it, it hits them immediately with some sort of impact, which hopefully creates enough curiosity for them to like look at it a little bit longer. And the more they look at it, the more they realize there is to see. And like the good music that I hear is that same way. It's like
Yeah.
if you just hear it, you don't have to know anything about music to like it. You just like it. And then the more you know about music, the more you inspect it, the more you just see how complex it is, and how how well organized the sounds are, or or the painting is, or the brush strokes, all that kind of stuff.
How would you describe figurative?
Well, it's people say figurative when they mean people generally, if there's somebody in it. But I tend to approach painting like landscape paintings,
Yeah.
in the sense of creating form and structure and depth of space and all that kind of stuff.
But then you do your shape and you feel good about it. Do you ever run into that then after having done your shape and you start to put more details that you're like, this is not actually
Oh, you
turning
paint
out?
over it fast.
Yeah, I've changed things drastically
Yeah.
sometimes.
Most people don't realize a lot of those paintings that they have or see have so many paintings
It's like
underneath.
Yeah, some of my best
Yeah.
paintings have been on top of paintings I didn't like.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, once you do you make enough paintings, or maybe you can relate to the music. Like, if you spend enough time, and then you realize I gotta start over, but you realize you can just
Do it again.
you can do it again.
Faster.
And the reason you're starting over is because you know it's going to be better.
Yes.
And if I know something can be better and I leave it as is,
Yeah.
it'll just eat at me. You know?
It is like, yeah.
Art of teaching
Yeah.
is just telling students start over
Yeah.
or give it up, because you have someone just fighting, and I've had a student fighting a tree branch, and I'm just like, you know what, just
Not even a real
Yeah,
one.
a real
A tree
one,
branch, and he doesn't have the rest of the tree ready.
There's a tree, like
Yeah.
so much work
Yeah.
is into it, and it's obviously going wrong, and it's like give it up, start.
Yeah.
I'll say start over.
Yeah, and that I think is a big part of becoming. It's not the 15 minutes of fame. It's not like you
It's-
just do. It's about really growing and
Yeah.
failing and expanding
Yeah.
that horizon that you're working within, because it's not gonna be like the idea that you can learn things super fast or become really
No, I have
fast.
a saying: you must
Good.
fail to succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must be able to, and not only
I
that
don't know if it's my
is,
saying, but I say it a lot.
and you're gonna have painting and songs that took 5 minutes to make.
Mm-hmm.
in 5 hours. It's funny. I'll have paintings that have been following me for 6 years,
Yeah.
and I have some that haven't even lasted a week in my studio, and from painting to selling. And it just depends on how it flows, you know, and how.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna. You know, like you always have best intentions when you start something.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome,
Yeah.
and you know they can't all be winners. That's kind of.
Yeah. And some of them paint themselves. You're just kind of like you find yourself in that groove, just moving it along.
Do you find that music, when you see a film and then you're trying to bring an idea to it, that some is so much easier because it just comes to you?
Oh yeah, like, I mean, I'm lucky in the sense that the music that I write, I get inspired.
Yeah.
But then when I work on projects that are not inspiring, I did some reality shows
Okay. Yeah.
some years ago.
What? That wasn't inspiring.
I was just a factory, and it felt like there was just the intention of squeezing as much out of my
Yeah.
music rather than my music being a partner in
Yeah.
the story.
It's a difference.
And then suddenly what I had to work, or like when I sat down and I was writing music, I know roughly how long things take. It took like 2-3 times as long
Yeah.
because I was I was not as inspired.
Inspired.
So it really does matter to me how much. But I think for every project I do, it's always about finding the voice, no matter how big or small the project is.
Yeah.
Finding the voice for that particular one, and that's usually as hard. It's sometimes harder on something that's super short,
Yeah.
like shorter films,
Yeah.
because you have less to work with, you have less
Yeah.
elements. Also, you have less room to fail. Like you have to
It has
succeed
be
within.
correct, yeah.
It's like where it is a process. Like
Yeah.
working on a longer film, you write this and then you write that and then you go back and revisit the first thing because
Yeah.
it wasn't as good as the second
Yeah.
thing, and you sort of evolve your things around that.
And it has time to breathe.
And
too.
then it's it's like
and
it's
then
just-
not only that, you've grown since
Yeah.
then, even if it's been a short time, and when you go back and revisit it, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, wait a minute, I'll add this to it.
yeah.
Yeah, so many paintings I look at now is like I would make that painting so much better now.
Yeah, that's.
But it wouldn't be the same painting. That's the thing. You
Yeah,
can't go
yeah,
back. Like,
yeah, you can't go. It wouldn't be
like
the
I
same
look at
thing.
all these other the paintings that I did that were like from 10 years ago that are really successful. It's like I would never make that painting now because I know too much, and some sort of my naivete or my haphazardness was what made that so
Yeah.
spontaneous, and that
Yeah.
spontaneousness is what
Like
made it
carry
work.
through.
So like I can't go back to that without making it look contrived. Like I did it somehow on accident. Like part of the fun in creating anything is being the spontaneity, being spontaneous. That sort of it's something that happens in the moment that you're there when it happens, but you're not really controlling. Like that's what the runs and drips. They just I sort of start them and then they go on their own little journey and
Yeah.
they become some sort of mathematical fractal pattern in this that.
Yeah.
That I could not have done on purpose, but it's beautiful just on its own, and then it adds some sort of emotional quality to the composition and the music. Like this is like music to me,
Yeah.
like the way those waves work, and I used to have a hard time when early on in my career, like figuring out how to make backgrounds look interesting, and finally I decided to let the backgrounds paint themselves, and that was
Changed
just
it.
get completely out of the way of the process altogether as much as possible.
But it's so interesting because I think some of the coolest effects that I managed to create, the coolest instruments or sounds, are usually by accident.
Yeah,
But it's
I get that.
it's not more accidental that you actually started the thing that it was coming from, but you didn't
Picked it up.
necessarily. It's like
It's a starting point.
yeah, it's like you put
You
a drip
start-
in the
yeah.
water, and sometimes it is like me randomly muting something or moving something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you play with that idea and you evolve it and take it to the next
Correct.
level.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of when you're making something, it aids in the process of it being made.
Yeah.
It does things that you just respond to. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like I'm just kind of you know, start trying to stay out of the way as much as possible. And like even right now, I'm like dilly-dallying cleaning up this guitar, but maybe there's something about it that it needs to be just rough as it is. Like I don't like trying to not over refine something.
And that is a goal, is not ruining your painting, and that's what you're constantly fighting as a painter. It's like, how do you give it what it wants, but don't ruin it.
Yeah.
Don't overpaint it.
Yeah, that's if you want to make mistakes, try not to make any. That's
Yeah, that's the key. Paint less.
so.
The term "accidentally on purpose" comes to mind.
Yeah.
I used to do the mantra. My mantra used to be in the beginning when I first started painting was, every brushstroke counts. Every brushstroke counts. Because the idea is to move forward. You know, and that's stuck. You know, it's how do you go start from the beginning and that get results when you step back. And that's just moving.
And the way you do it is you quit trying so hard.
First of all, get rid of fear. And then another thing that people forget is...
How do you do that?
I was going to get to that. People forget is you create a studio vibe that you kind of are a few inches floating off the ground. You're not connected. All your focus is that canvas, the paints, the brushes, the music, whatever the ambiance of that studio is. For me, what brings out a good painting session is the ambiance of the studio. Like that's the main.
It's like you set up. If you light incense or you do
Yeah,
whatever,
the
you
whole-
set the lighting up and you have your music on and you just have
Yeah.
your own little world that you can hang out in.
Then that becomes that's the catalyst to.
Well, that's interesting because all those sensory things that you're adding to it are added to what you're painting. Now, when you're coming from a film composition, when you're composing music, you can't have music to set the vibe because you got to create from
Creating
music.
it.
Right?
Yeah,
That's your
yeah.
canvas. The canvas is the music.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
do feel that sometimes I'm in the mood to open all my windows, remove all my curtains, like to
Yeah.
get a lot of light in.
Yeah.
And other days I'll like
Shut
everything up. It's like in the middle of the day, and then
Yeah.
I'll turn light around because it does like my space does affect me. And
Yes.
you've been in my studio, so it's like
Yeah.
50 instruments, and it's like to me I'm really like at home and inspired. I love being there.
Same
So
here.
so for sure creating that, but sometimes I wish that I could listen to more music.
Got it. But you know, but here's the
Without,
thing.
yeah, that would interfere with making music. Just like if I was like,
Yeah.
But yes,
maybe if I was watching Bob Ross while I was trying to make this.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, but then we would be watching you paint mountains right now, you know? And I think that's the thing. A part of me as a painter is don't see too much. Don't, maybe as a musician, don't listen to too much because, you want your own ideas.
Well, what I
right in
listen
your
to
head.
really affects. Like if I want to do something that's really mundane, like if I was painting. Remember, I was making a painting of a roulette table in it, and there's always table markings and chips, and it's like
Yeah.
that's not exciting stuff to be painting. It's like you want to be like slashing around, painting
yeah.
figures before
Yeah.
painting around, but then you have the little
Yeah.
lines. That's to
Yeah.
go back in space. It's really mathematical. And I was like, this is
I like that
boring.
discipline.
And so I'll put on a philosophy lecture. I'll put on something that's really mellow in music or ambient sounds, or some meditation tape, and I'll just sort of like then get lost in it.
Yeah.
But if I'm wanting to start a painting, I'll put on something like I'll put on a Metallica or something, or some Jack White, which has got a lot of rhythm, a lot of sort of angst to it, and then I dive into a big composition, like do big movements and stuff in it.
Yeah.
So the music kind of lends itself into whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna play really mellow, vibey music if I want to make something that's got a lot of energy in it. Like I want to splash paint around.
But see, but that's the advantage you have is you can control your environment. It's important to have control of your environment. Like I can't paint at a friend's house. I can't paint in a backyard at someone's house.
You should start learning how to do that.
Well,
Maybe your friends suck.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, distractions. But what it is your painting will be different. You'll
It
be
is.
different.
Because
You're
when I've done the live demos, it's difficult because I have my own little setup here. Even though when I have people in my studio, it's
Yeah.
not that big a deal. Like that's why we can do this. I can work on goof around and jack my job. But like trying to take my painting setup to another location is difficult because I have my palettes, my paints, all the things set up right where I need them, and I kind of have like a little order to what I'm doing here. Whereas trying to do that on location can be difficult. You don't have control. You don't have control over the lighting setup so much. You don't have control over a lot of different things.
No.
It'd be more difficult.
It's so funny. It's for music. It's or like for film composing. It's a more computer power that you are. Also, your instruments you don't have access to, but we do a lot digital now anyway. But that's something I've been struggling with a lot. This concept of being stuck one place, while at the same time I like being stuck there because it's a good environment.
Yeah.
But I really worked when I went on this trip to Egypt last month. I ended up building a setup with 3 small computers I could bring with me, so I was actually able to work on my projects on the road.
Oh, there you go.
So because I mean it was a long trip. It was like 22 days. So I also felt that I needed being able to respond to the projects I was working on at that time. Be available for them. So I needed basically to bring the studio on the road, but it's not as convenient as your space that you spend like years refining.
It's kind of like you'd rather take a shit in your own toilet.
I guess
It's like
that's the right
That's
analogy.
not hostile.
home bowl
Yeah.
on the
But the same thing was like for example, Gabe and I will pack up this little box that we each have, and we go out and walk a few miles outside of here, and we.
We say that we do it all the time. We don't
No,
twice.
twice. But in doing so, though, you're painting stuff that you're observing, but that's necessarily not going to paint stuff in your studio. But you bring it back. But what we did do a lot too is sketch.
Yeah,
walking
the
around
deliberate
downtown.
practice was hugely impactful.
That pin, because even though my sketches were horrible, because we're doing quick sketches, it's all about a 8-second sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
we were
like
trying to
sketch.
fill up an entire sketchbook every time we went out, like 25 to 50
Yeah.
pages. So we were Sharpie, so you don't have time to like dilly-dally, and so you just start drawing lots of stuff, and you get a whole book of drawings,
Yeah.
and that leads that sort of work leads into all kinds of.
Then when you work
stuff.
on your canvas, you're looking at that same perspective, and those 3 little simple lines you drew become 20 lines now.
Yeah.
And that, it just really,
But that's funny. The movie that I did with Dave, I was in Palm Springs just after I got on board. I was there on a film festival for a week, and Palm Springs you sort of like you move around to the
Yeah.
different venues. So I would, instead of taking Ubers, I would walk.
yeah.
And then I would have like half an hour walk. And through that week, I came up with like 8 themes, I think, that I was sort of like getting into, and then just recording them on my iPhone.
Smart.
That would be the sketch thing. And
Yeah.
then, I wish I had brought my laptop. I've listened to some of those horrible iPhone sketches.
But it gives you that
And
idea of
So you were making musical sketches.
Yeah, musical sketches, like literally,
So
and
how do you do that?
4 or 5 of the themes
Just-
are in the. Yeah, you just
Yeah.
sing, like you just
Yeah.
walk in. I would think about the film, the subject, the feeling that scene gives me. Not like it's not about cue points, but it's about what is the feeling. It's if it's like painful, I'm just thinking about pain, and then suddenly there's melodies coming in. I'm like, oh, this is actually a nice melody, and I'll record it.
Yeah.
But it creates a certain type of music.
So are you like maybe hearing things around when you're walking that you hear something that rings a bell? or
It's all
It's
internal.
it's all in your head?
But I don't. If I would not go out, like if I would sit in front of the desk,
It would not have come up.
you don't get the liberation. It's like conversation starts better. It's a conversation with
Yeah.
yourself.
You know where I do that is when I'm in traffic.
Yeah.
I learned that when I'm like, I have an hour's traffic ahead of me, and I'll kind of song comes on, is what's the next painting gonna be?
Yeah.
You know, and focus on that because you have nowhere to go. Because when you have nothing else to do, you're trapped.
Yeah.
It's no better time.
Yeah.
It's funny. I start visualizing jujitsu moves.
Yeah. But that's what-
This is how I break someone's arm where I would
that's
choke
it.
them, and then I go to class and I just get tapped out.
Well, a lot of my better paintings have come from an idea in the freeway, like, oh, I'm gonna do a helicopter with a tail, and I'll get to the studio. And get where that would not have popped up. Because I paint different than Gabe. Gabe has reference. I sit in front of a blank canvas going, what's gonna happen? And I'll just start with one color.
Yeah.
And then occasionally a line will pop somewhere. I'm like, oh, that looks like a guitar. And
But that's the hardest thing is the blank canvas. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
That's why I immediately just painted something.
That's true.
I'll cover the entire canvas with a color. I
that
don't
does
care what it is,
help.
get rid
No,
of the
sure, in
shine.
music it
And that's
does
what
help.
shapes, and then I work
Yeah.
my way out.
Yeah. I do like to procrastinate on starting things. That's why I like the bigger projects, because they give me more time to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll just spend a couple of days just like hanging out,
Yeah.
creating few colors in terms of music, of like sounds. It could be I'll just sit with this instrument, and I'll just go like,
Yeah.
and I'll just record that, and then it's like there as a thing. It's never really a concrete idea. It's never really going somewhere, or I'll sample it so I can play it on my keyboard.
Yeah.
And then you create, like slowly you just build like 20, 30 sounds, and then one day you sit down, and then within an hour or two you will have a piece of music that feels like that project.
Yeah.
So I guess that would relate to finding the colors that you like. You start mixing colors.
Yeah.
But of course I can do that over a long time because it's digital. So I'll just put it in and
Sure.
But I do love that. Like it's the most frightening thing when you start something. But I love when I have time to just sort of ease into it because there is something. Yeah, no, I think there's two sides of it.
And painting it works well because if you don't know what to paint, then you do what Gabe says. You
Yeah.
just start painting it. You start with a color and you build on top of that. And I think that kind of gets you kickstarting going. But I think a lot of people put
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
Talking about
Ding 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 ding.
The Pee-wee's Funhouse. Word of the day.
63K. And yeah, it's just the whole goal is to find that inspiration, whatever it is.
Well, I heard that like the music, the jingle for the NBA for like 20 years was da-na-na-na-na-na-na. So that was actually John Tesh, and he was on vacation or somewhere, and this is before cell phones, whatever, and he had that in his head, so he called himself on his. Because he knew he was gonna forget, so he called his voicemail machine at home and did the and he did it with his own like we and then of course he's a musician, so he went back and then transcribed it and brought the the talent aspect to it, or the
Thanks,
technical
John
aspect to it.
Cash, for
But
Anyway,
it's
John
pretty,
Tesh.
yeah, it's a pretty cool story. But it was cool to hear that story because I didn't know that.
Oh, you
about
don't know?
when-
Yeah.
that you were walking around in Palm Springs, right?
Yeah.
And just
That's the best way, away from your instruments.
And also looking at the mountains,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
movie takes place in the desert. And it's
yeah.
like it's so interesting to hear like the war torn theme that is in the movie.
yeah.
I sing every note, everything translated, and when I sat down, I had no idea what it was harmonically, but when I sat down and started making a string piece out of it, it was like, this feels like the movie, it feels like the pain these people are going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those people were going through a lot.
Yeah, and I think it was just watching the first cut and then leaving it and let your body process it.
Yeah.
It's like that there is some internal things that happen, and that's what people call talent, I think.
Yeah.
Like, or I don't know if that's something you have or don't have. I think everybody could do things. It's just how easy is it for you to reach something. It's usually what stops us as kids is, oh, I was not good at football,
So I thought, yeah.
so I stopped.
True.
And
yeah, because like maybe I don't know how it was a few years ago with drawing. I was innately had an ability for it that was people recognized it. So I was already good at it. So I just kept doing it.
and you don't get as many rejections early on,
And it comes to you easy. It's so easy that you assume that maybe others can do it too.
Well, people inform you about
Then
your
they inform
abilities
you,
early
yeah,
on, and
yeah.
that like
I think that too.
and that's what.
But I think that's the talent. It's only that thing
Yeah.
as a kid
Yeah.
where you get the head start.
The head start.
After that, it's just like
Building it.
You have to do the work.
It's work.
It's work, and
It's
I mean,
focus.
it's fun. It's fun work.
I mean,
but-
talent. I mean, it's like 90% focus. It's saying I'm gonna stay here and finish this, whereas nothing else in your world you can do the same thing too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the fortunate thing for me doing art already as a kid, and it might have to do with where I grew up, was that I would get so soaked into it that time and space, everything just fades away, and that's the feeling that you want to have.
That's a successful studio session. Is when you look at the clock and you're 2 a.m.
Yeah.
already.
And
Yeah.
where did you grow up?
I grew up in the countryside, and there wasn't that many kids around. So I do think that I was naturally filling time doing this, but I was actually having a blast
Yeah.
doing it. And I think if I was growing up in a big city like in Copenhagen or something, I might have played more with kids and.
You've been too preoccupied with
Yeah.
everything around you.
Yeah.
And I think that's most cases.
I grew up in a small place too.
Yeah.
So-
You were in Denmark and you
I was
were
in, yeah.
yeah.
But it would be interesting to make a poll on people that are doing art, where
Where they live, how they
where
grow up, how they grow
yeah.
up.
Because I also
'Cause I grew
feel
up
that,
isolated too.
yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in LA, but my parents have this like horse property with no neighbors around us.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I was just like, you could hear crickets,
Yeah.
you know, and things pitter pattering around, you know.
But I also believe in, at some point, or pretty early, there's an environment that can cultivate you. Like, that was the thing that I was struggling with, was like, I was the best at playing every instrument in my hometown.
Okay.
It was like,
So
kind
you
of
didn't have-
stupid. So I didn't have that.
Anyone to kind of.
Yeah, and then I went to, pretty early on, I went to a pre-conservatory thing. And then suddenly you get hit by this, oh shit, there's actually other people playing.
And they're good.
And they're good.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, I have to up my game. And
Yeah.
the whole thing changed. And that was
Yeah,
where I was.
I still want to be the best at this.
Yeah.
There's a,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here at the brewery, I mean, being friends with Gabe has improved my art
Yeah.
because of the fact that
You
you see, I see his, and
I'm taking applications for new friends by the way.
he charges now. He charges.
does charge now.
Yeah, he charges.
It's like your master classes. Come and
Mentor.
drink wine in
Let
the
me be your
studio.
Dude, since I've done this Kickstarter, like all the ads I've seen on Facebook are now like everything you need to know about Facebook ads,
Yes.
funnels, and all these sort of things, and then arrange your software, organize your business. Like my whole advertisements that I'm seeing through Facebook has now completely shifted to people trying to sell me consulting services and business.
Everyone wants to be a
business services, and
consultant. Everyone.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Everyone
The funny
wants-
thing is they give you a lot of information for free, so you just watch their intro videos. They lay out all the things you need to learn with the idea that they're going to sell you this little tool that helps you just do those things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the really the thing is like you just need to go learn how to do those things.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
so,
that's
so I watch all these advertisement videos to learn like, oh, this is the strategy I need to understand. This is
Sure.
what this is, and then I don't buy their tools.
you can watch it.
Yeah.
Just
They
work.
give you the shadows and the shapes of the image, and you just go in and fill out the details.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
That's,
And those people are still learning themselves. They haven't
They are.
figured
No
it
one,
out.
no one's figured it out,
figured
especially
out.
like, even with the mediums of the film industry right now, because everything's going so
Yeah.
video on demand. Everybody thinks or tells you that they know exactly where everything is. Well, you have those, and then you have the sharks of people who are trying to extract, get all the IP
Yeah.
that they can, and all of the and try to make as much money off of
Yeah.
other people as much as they can. And they tell you
Yeah.
that they know exactly what they're
Yeah.
doing, and they don't know.
No, they don't
They
know.
really don't. And then I
Yeah.
go and sit in these seminars
Yeah.
and things, and I go and I would
Yeah.
sit and like listen to Netflix, for instance, tell you that they're figuring it out, but they don't have to share it with
Yeah.
anyone, right?
Mm.
Or Amazon's trying to figure it out, but they're going to take such a
Yeah.
lion's share of your profits to figure it out.
Yeah.
But they're figuring out what the marketplace is dictating, right? And they're figuring it out all the time. Like when they did this film, for instance, it was with Wayans, and it was about him waking up naked every day, right? In an elevator.
It was a Groundhog Day.
It was like a Groundhog Day, but
Yeah,
he wakes
yeah.
up naked the same day over and over again, right?
It was the
you know,
Wayne's Brothers Groundhog Day.
yeah, they didn't. They just put it up on their platform, and it turns out that almost everyone in Scandinavia watched that film, and then they realized, oh my goodness, like Scandinavia is like really into African American
Yeah.
culture and films, but because the movie industry never marketed to there for the theaters, they never knew. They always figured that it was a dead zone for that stuff. So then
Correct.
all of a sudden now,
Yeah.
all this stuff and all this advertisement and all these things, but it was accidental that they figured these
Exactly.
things out. But they're figuring these things out
As they move
accidentally
along.
because of
Yeah.
because they're putting on video
Yeah.
on demand. A whole new market is broadening and widening, and everyone's trying to
Yeah.
figure out where to go with what.
Yeah.
And everybody who's trying to get something from you is telling you that they know exactly what it is, but
They
a lot of
don't.
that-
They're learning it as they're talking to you, or they're convincing themselves as they're talking to you.
Or they're just flat out
They
lying.
just know that you want to know,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
going to sell you an answer.
Yeah.
Selling answers, that's a business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe now, to me, what attracts me is more like people that know what they like or are doing what they're good at. It's like it's more interesting to me than people trying to make what other people want.
Yes.
And I do feel that there's a market for that. Like there's a lot that studios don't take risk. Netflix can take risks, but this of having someone within reason, but having a strong identity, having a strong idea, to me that's usually much more interesting. And I try to become that type of artist myself that like lean into what I know and become even better at that, because there's a lot of forced commercialized art.
If you can sell, if you can make a profit as to what comes out of you without any other outside input, then that's the key. Selling a painting that you painted is better than selling a commission painting. Yeah, commission
I
painting.
like the challenges of both.
He's good at
When I do
commission.
commission paintings, I often will take projects that I would, either I'll take it because it's exactly what I want to do anyways, and I don't want any guff, or I'll take it because it's something that I haven't really done before, and I think it'll be fun to challenge.
Yeah.
But I don't take things that I'm definitely not interested in. You know, like you know, and if I'm gonna take something that I haven't really done and not sure if I want to do it, it's not like it doesn't fit in with other things I've done. Hold on a second. Then I'll this. Then it'll really depend on who it is that I'm working with. Like I don't want to work with people that make my life miserable.
No.
And try to micromanage things. And so when I'm working on commissions, it's got to be with somebody who likes to work already and trusts that I'm going to do something
interviews
cool.
the person commissioning, like he wants to know if I want to work with this person, as opposed to just saying, yes, I'll take the job.
Yeah.
Well, that's all setting expectations too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really finding what these people are, if their expectations are just insane, and there's no satisfying that expectation whatsoever, then you're like, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, after a while you learn to recognize when people are going to just be a pain in your ass.
Yeah.
And that's what generally I'm trying to avoid is.
But
pains in the
it's
ass.
true when the projects comes around where it's like, I mean, I only do commissioned work in a way because it's always for films.
Yeah.
But when there's that film coming around that has subjects that you're interested in, or asking for music that you like doing, that's like, it's almost too easy to say yes. You have to almost play it cool.
Yeah.
I want to do it. Give it to me.
There were projects where I really wanted to do it, but the business side of it was such a downer that I had to back out of them. Man, that happens too. Like I had a project that I was going to work on with a video game company for a video game that was a sequel to a game I played. And it was top secret. I had to sign an NDA and everything. And I was super excited to be working on it, but then this was a Sony exclusive, and Sony had these contracts that were just untenable. Like, I would be basically working for nothing, and I could have, in the same time, making paintings for them, just make my own paintings and sell them, and be better off. So I had to make a practical decision about, I'm not going to be able to use these paintings for anything else. I'm not going to,
And that to me is something that is unfortunate in this business. And like, right, with you get to paint, you get to do your own thing, and you have that as an option. Like with film, part of what I love about film and part of the artistry and what I do as a producer is collaboration, and allowing or bringing things where people come in and then their talents shine, and then my expectations are blown away, or the way that everyone sort of interacts, and sometimes it's just with a little introduction, and then I step away, and the relationships grow and together of the introductions I've made around a specific project, and those things happen. Other times it's managing those things, sometimes other relationships and other things need management, but it's always being aware of all the little things that are happening around the production and keeping the goal or the end point in mind. That we're all trying to get there. And sometimes certain people get too zeroed in on their own little piece of it, and they're destroying everything around them. And some people don't. I mean, sometimes I wish I could paint and just, just my own little world. That's my one little thing, not little, but I mean one focus, right? But part of the whole thing coming together for me is quite joyful, and seeing it all sort of tie together, and then see people who I introduced work well together.
And it's almost no matter the struggle, when you are through it, when you're on the other side and you see a final thing, it's worth it. It's like, I don't think I've experienced where it's like, this sucked in all levels and I'm not even proud of what I did.
Yeah.
I've had those projects,
Yeah.
didn't sign my name to it, left pretty quickly. I think I was talking about it the other day. It's like nope, I'm done. And then one thing you do from that is learn to avoid those situations.
Yeah.
You learn to recognize when someone's going to be that kind of client, and you just gotta walk away from it to begin with. That's avoiding situations like that to begin with is I don't want to care for it.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's a selflessness to it too, I think, because you have to know that most of the work that you do is going to be done without any understanding, because you're dancing in so many different arenas at the same time too, that there's no way to really follow it and put, I don't know, some sort of, process.
Yeah.
Because everything is so different. Every project is different. Every relationship is different. All the things are different, right?
Multitasking is key.
Multitasking is key. Let's have some music.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to hear what this sounds like, the flutes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna go grab some Pinot Noir. You guys
Do
wanna
that?
try to-
Yes, do that.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna grab some furniture from a neighbor and put it in Gabe's place real quick.
Nice. I don't know how you feel about it, your flutes.
I
think that's been my thing. I want to also ask you about if you go and sort of pull in other techniques or other things that inspires you. But
I don't really think of things in terms of techniques.
no.
I think people are collecting
Yes.
techniques but they're just like, really what you want is,
Highwayman wine.
yeah,
Pinot Noir. With cat hair.
everything comes
Everything comes with cat
with cat hair. I think you want to find something that's worth saying, and then you find a way to say it, and those techniques will present themselves for it. Like,
Yeah.
there's certain principles, like you want to learn the alphabet, you want to learn things you have to
Yeah.
learn, so you want to learn the language, so to speak, of painting. But
I
that
just
is
see
not-
myself go back and study a lot. Like, I'm not containing all my knowledge and it's like, oh, now I learned all this, I'll just do my thing. I do tend to go back and listen to things again and again, sort of trying to find inspiration from, well, not necessarily inspiration, but knowledge. It's like, but I wonder how that translates to being a painter.
It's the same thing, you have to kind of understand some things about your subject matter or about the
Yeah.
emotional quality of the subject that you're trying to represent. And then you work from there, like I do all the outlaw stuff because I grew up in that part of the country and it just kind of resonates with me really easily. Whereas doing, I was going to do,
That was a lot more difficult than I had to.
Yeah.
For some reason, I hate these old clunky
like
things.
doing pirates would be more difficult because I don't have that much familiarity with.
Yeah.
Sure you do. I think we should go to the Caribbean, Gabe, and do a case study. Pirates. We'll drink rum in the Caribbean. I got a pirate film. Let's do it.
Oh, you do. Dave's got a film for every occasion.
I've got a film for this occasion. Here you go, Gabe.
Thank you, sir. I'll wait for when everybody gets here. I'll be here.
Over here,
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Happy hour-ish again.
Cheers. Thank you, Highwayman Wine.
Yep.
Early happy hour-ish.
It's kind of fun just to do. Like,
Yeah, my brain is almost half tapped out from that. As well, so
oh yeah, that's right. You like a beer is like a heavy
process.
process.
I could just play and things, but if I would have to sit down and really be hardcorely creative, I would.
It'd be more difficult.
Yeah, I would definitely struggle more. But it's fine. I mean, it's good. You just need to know who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like I'm not doing things that are, well, maybe they're somewhat.
Doing the strings after 6
I hate
years.
making straight lines. Like what? I already got something that has straight lines in it. Why don't I just do it this way?
What are you using to do the straight line? A little
Just a palette knife.
palette knife? Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But that's also the cool thing when you're creating things, is that you don't have to be specific or precise. I mean, you can do, I mean, not that you need to excuse, oh, this was not perfect, or this doesn't look like that, or sound like that, but there's a certain artistic freedom.
Yeah, I mean, I've done all the photorealistic stuff, and it's just not that fun to do. It's just mostly it's learning how to copy a photograph, which is kind of boring.
Yeah.
I mean, I have photographic references I'm working from, but
Yeah.
there are more references than there are anything else. I'm not really trying to copy. I'm like,
Yeah, and that's I feel taking artistic freedom, or to me, if I get to explore and create something new, like for your film, there was no reference in music. I had completely,
Yeah, there wasn't.
there was an open table, like yeah.
And we suffered for months.
Yeah, you
Why
suffered,
not?
so I could have a good time.
Yeah, so you could have a good time for months to try to come up
Yeah.
with the feel of the film when you're
Yeah.
editing it together,
Yeah.
which was way more part of the process that I was in. Once you got involved, I sort of,
Yeah.
I could start to step away.
Yeah, yeah.
But the film was sort of like, what is this thing that we have? We have a Frankenstein of some sort.
Yeah.
But once you came on, it began to have we could understand the emotion, we could understand the cultural nuance of it, right? Because the music really plays into that.
Yeah.
So that was so exciting to
Albert's
see.
giving up hope.
But not only that, the way that you focused our attention on certain scenes and how you would.
But it's just
help
talking
change
about
those.
emotional content or emotional continuity, and then obviously that affects the edit. But yeah, and that I think it might be another, or that's another layer, another subject,
Yeah.
which is also a gift for me to be part of as a film composer.
Sure.
Is that it's not just delivering music, but it's about storytelling and having a voice that are being heard also by the filmmaker that I'm working with. When I worked with you, you were so open about that whole process.
But when you mean me
It's like
and Drew.
Me and yeah, you the
brothers.
crew.
The crew.
Well, also
Jesus.
Jesus,
Yeah.
the editor,
Mhm.
because if he had been protective about his cut and not being
True.
open to try it out, that would have been a struggle for everyone.
Yeah.
And if I was stubborn enough, I would have to sit and do re-edits on my computer, which is way out of what you are supposed to do, or you're almost being taught. Don't do things that are outside your field,
Mhm.
because that's gonna
Right.
step on someone else and it's gonna give you a bad reputation. Where I'm like, I just want to engage and be part, and I know I have qualities in storytelling, so
Yeah.
being able to provide that to the filmmakers, and it's always obviously you're trying to be respectful to all who's involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but I do feel like there's getting a lot of freedom, so you have the chance to create your own thing. Like, I do feel that would be the similarity, getting some temp music, that this is what we want, and then you would try to recreate that music exactly. That would be the same as a painter being told, I want this photorealistic painting to, like, this is the painting I want, recreate that.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's boring.
It's just boring, and for me, that's boring even to say to someone.
yeah. It's a different task. I would say that sometimes I like the challenge, or a lot of what I learned was from copying things, or like
Mhm.
learning how other people did it. Like, it's a good tool to expand and learn. But yeah, it doesn't have the same depth and creativity.
No.
Not at all.
No.
So yeah. No, I'll jump on your wagon. It's boring.
It's more of a rickshaw than a wagon.
Yeah. A rickshaw.
Talking about rickshaws.
Are you gonna start a rickshaw business, Gabe? I think you should.
Yeah, you're gonna be my first customer. Actually, you'd be my first employee.
My calves aren't big enough.
The cabbie, rickshaw
Yeah, the
cabbie.
cabbie rickshaws, yeah. I actually
Cabbie,
Cabbie rickshaws.
What annoyed me the most about living in India, where I was like for 3 months in Chennai, for these flutes, it was the fact that every time I had to go to I took a lot of classes from a singing teacher. Every time I had to go there, I had to negotiate the rickshaw, and it's like I've done this the last month. I know how much it costs.
Would you negotiate with the same rickshaw drivers, or was it always?
No, I think it was always different.
It was
ones,
always
'cause you
a
just
different rickshaw person.
pick them up, and
Yeah.
and for them it was the culture. That's part of the.
Sure.
That's part of their life.
It's like when we
That's-
were in Iraq.
They like it.
Yeah.
And for me it was just like annoying, time consuming, because I knew that we would end at the same place if I had the patience.
Yeah.
But yeah, just waste.
So they just wear you out.
Yeah, so I actually ended up buying a bicycle and I
Avoid negotiations.
yeah, then it's just like
Oh, I'll do it myself.
yeah, I think that might be my Nordic genes is like
Nordic.
avoiding confrontation.
What?
Like
That's not part of your Nordic genes. It's just taking an axe.
Yeah.
And smashing all of them.
See, that's not confrontation. That's just like overtaking.
Oh yeah.
It's like
okay.
if I'm
That's
not gonna kill you, I'm just gonna not confront you. So
Is that the Nordic way?
I don't know. I mean, I do feel that we don't have markets. We don't have marketplace. We have like organized things, supermarkets, like everything.
Everything has a price. Everything is what it is.
Yeah,
Everything
we
has a
have
value.
stoplights
Yeah.
that are very clear. It's like
Oh, yeah.
it's very
I
streamlined
grew
society.
up in Southeast Asia, so it was a mayhem.
Yeah, it's like if you come from an organized society and you come to a place where everything is a little bit more slacky and up for conversation, it's like you either love it or you hate it. Because for me, it was just like I'm so focused in what I do that
So for you, it's hate.
it's yeah.
It was
you
fun.
hate-
Like I hated it too when I was in the bazaars in Iraq, right? And I'm in these bazaars that are like the longest continuing bazaars in the world. You
Yeah.
know, there's one where it's by the Citadel where Alexander the Great declared himself king of Asia,
Yeah.
and they have the bazaar that's pretty much been running since then. That's right there, you know. And
Which
so,
is like amazing. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I
yeah,
just don't
I-
enjoy it.
I was fascinated by it too. I didn't enjoy it because
No.
I just wanted to go buy like something that would have cost me a scarf, which would be like
Yeah.
a dollar or something, right?
Yeah.
And they tell you it's $20,
Yeah.
right? And then if you take that price just because you don't care, well, then they'll just not have any respect for you.
Yeah.
Then everyone around them hears like this guy's a sucker,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, like this, it's like spreads like wildfire or something, you
Yeah.
know, because they like to leave it open for the suckers to come in.
Yeah.
You know, but they think of it as like a sport that they enjoy this whole thing. But then again, they also know that the people that are locals know the price of things, so they don't haggle with them anymore.
Yeah, and that's what I felt like after a month.
Can you just get
or
a
2
T-shirt that says
months.
I'm local?
What's up?
You get a T-shirt that says I'm local.
Yeah.
What is
no,
the
you're,
best
you're
price?
not in a place like India when you're, you know,
You know,
But it's like no matter how
Jesper
long,
walking around.
I could live there for 50 years, and they would still see me as a white guy. I would still not be getting the local price.
No.
I mean, I had friends that had who came there for like 30 years. They had an apartment. They basically just had a private driver who they would call, and he would show up, and I guess it was a win-win situation because they had something they could rely on, and he had a pretty steady job.
Yeah. And my father knew people too when he was living over there where they would. He had certain taxi drivers. He had their phone number. He would just
Yeah.
call them because
Yeah.
they knew. They
Yeah. It's
So
like,
one with them.
no bullshit. You probably
Yeah.
pay a little bit more, but you get yeah.
You get
But I
that
don't
shit.
think you would spend. You don't move there or live there a lot unless you actually take it to some certain degree. If you would hate it, I mean, those were actually an American couple. He was a teacher at Boston, music teacher, and I don't think they would have spent so much of their life in India if they didn't. There was definitely more to it than just going to India. There was something about the food, the culture, the whole thing that they loved. I'm sure they loved buying the bananas in small stand on the corner. It's like, yeah, where I had a harder time accepting it or living with how things.
Well,
was
once you're there for a
going.
while longer, right? There's the time frame of fitting into the culture, or having the comforts that you have from the West, the things that you need, that
Yeah.
you can figure out a way to either replace that need with something else there, or get a driver, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I love everything else. I don't
Yeah.
like your transportation system, and it just
Yeah, it's
freaks
still
me out.
working.
Most
Yeah.
people are freaked out by the chaos of, like,
Yeah.
you go to Taiwan or Bangkok.
Yeah.
You know, you're in Chiang Mai, and then there's like motorcycles flying down the streets,
Yeah.
and then the cacophony of noises.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it is just everyone's out laying on their horn.
I-
Lines are a suggestion. Street lights are just might as well not even be there.
Yeah.
You know, all of that stresses some people out.
Yeah.
Crazy stresses them out. For
Mhm.
me, you know, if I was driving around, it would stress me out too.
Yeah.
You know.
So you don't drive.
So I don't drive. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
take public transportation
Yeah.
and get around, and I do feel best if I do have a driver, you
Yeah.
know, or whatever. But certain countries that can be so cheaply done, you know.
It becomes obviously more accessible coming from the West, and then like having the resources for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and even to buy your own car in those countries where the market for everything else is so much cheaper to eat, to live, to do all these things, but cars are as expensive or more expensive there than they are other
Yeah.
places, you know.
True.
So, anyway,
Yeah.
that's,
I just bought a bike in India, and I was part of one traffic accident, and that sort of.
oh yeah.
That's how it went.
Did it end there? Did you have the accident?
No.
You're like, I'm not getting on my bike.
No, it's just like.
Was it your fault? Or?
Well, my brakes didn't really work, and there was like a scooter, and he got stuck in me, and then we kind of fell together. It's like, but nothing serious. Like, I didn't really get hurt, but
Did
there's
they
a
try
lot
to
of
get money
yelling.
from you?
Huh?
Did they try to get money from you?
No. it's
Okay.
just-
There's just a lot of yelling.
Yeah, a lot of yelling. It's I don't know. It's at some point. You also I wouldn't say I get immune, but I learned to put on the face. When it's like, yeah, this was your fault.
Yeah.
That's not my fault. I mean, it was who knows whose fault it was. And you
But
just
you
sort
don't
of
never claim, never take the blame. Is that right?
yeah,
I got
you
in a
just-
trike
you
accident
just
in
stand
Manila.
up and you leave because it's like, well, this is not what I plan to spend my day on.
Yeah.
It's like nobody really got hurt. It's just like the shock, whatever.
Sure. I got in Manila into one of those trike guys, but it's a bicycle with a sidecar, you know, and but they do the bicycle thing there. And it's just to get from, you know, you don't take it to go too far, right? They have the motorcycles that have that, but they also have the bicycles that have that. The bicycles are a little cheaper, so anyway, you're just trying to get a few blocks. So we got in one, and I got in one, and then one of the little, it actually broke.
Oh
right?
wow.
While I was in there, one of the little bars, the weld was bad, and the metal was bad. It
Yeah.
was just cheaply made, right?
Yeah.
So it broke, and then the guy gets out, he starts yelling and screaming at me. And I kept hearing the word gordo, and I understand that in Spanish is fat, so I kept going. But I'm, you know, just, you know, not that. So I'm thinking, and so then I asked somebody because this guy's obviously screaming. I was like, can you translate the Tagalog to me? And then that person who just happened to be a bystander was trying to translate to me. And then all these other strike guys come around like they're a union, that they're all together like,
Yeah.
you broke my
Yeah,
bike,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You broke my bike, and you owe me money, and all this other stuff. And I was just like, this is just getting bad. I'm like, how much does this guy want for this, you know? Because one, I'm like, do I fight for justice here?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
what's right?
I did.
Or how much is it that this guy wants?
Hmm.
And I ended up not paying him. Actually, I ended up walking away and being like, I'm not going to pay that. But
Yeah.
because he wanted too much. There was a limit.
There's
you
a
know,
limit too.
to what he wanted, and but anyway, it was kind of a hairy moment for a minute when all those guys came over. And I'm like, oh,
It's
okay.
yeah, and it's also I'm sure it's one of those moments that defines your experience at that place, because it's some of those moments sticks with you stronger than the daily routine. routine, whatnot. It's like
Like
at least
in-
it gives you insight in
Totally.
some things that, and I don't think we can judge them as good or bad. It's just
No,
I mean, you also want them. You want to be confronted. It's
yeah,
like,
I didn't judge them really good or bad as a whole or anything like that.
No.
This guy was just trying. His life was hard and was trying to
Yeah.
get a little something out of something that happened to
Yeah.
him. And you know, it was unfortunate. His bike broke, and I wanted to fix it. But I knew that was going to affect him. You know, his psyche, and he was going to be mad about that for a long time. Whereas in like Italy, where their culture, if you're anywhere south of like, well, Venice, okay, I can't say north, but like not Milan, but everything south of that, right? Everybody, they'll get it like veins popping out of their neck, screaming at you, and then 3 seconds later they're like, you know, like it never happened and everything's fine, and
Yeah.
they're moving on with their lives. Right?
yeah.
And this is something that I just couldn't.
Yeah,
I couldn't understand after 6 months of living there. I was like,
People yell, fight.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's now, right?
Vito.
You know, and the threats. I mean, the threats that go with the yells too. I'm like, does anybody have any after? Because first I would hear the threats and the things and then the yells, and I'm like, man, this is intense. After a while, I thought, man, you can't. You know, you can't
That's
threaten.
not living.
Yeah, you can't just keep threatening all the time. Then they lose their bites, right? They don't mean anything anymore.
That's I guess that's just culture.
Yeah, it's culture, man. I love it.
It is culture because like I had this where I grew up in Montreal, I had an Armenian family next to me, and you swear they're fighting. 'Cause- then you go next door and it's like a happy dinner. Yeah. And it's like it's just how the cultures are. You know, I think in American culture, it's
They're really fighting.
you know they're really fighting when you raise that tone. you
Yeah,
know?
when you actually go to that level,
Yeah.
it's yeah,
It's probably in Nordic too, I would imagine.
yeah,
Because you're pretty calm people typically.
yeah. We're quiet, so if we're not quiet, there's something.
There's something
going on.
Yeah. I usually, I mean, I grew up in a happy family, and I usually don't want to spend my time too much in those environments.
Yeah.
I've through the time lived with people, with couples, but also, I mean, I've lived more outside of Denmark my adult life than inside. Like since I moved from my parents, I've lived longer outside, so I'm not a good representation of Denmark in general.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I have an idea and better idea than any of you guys, but to really know what's going on, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really know what's going on in Denmark? You gotta be from Denmark.
Yeah. Yeah. Live there.
Man, it's really amazing what just adding the strings to that guitar did to that painting.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. The highlights. The eyes love to see contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll decide later if they're.
To think.
Yeah, right now, you start trying to go back and cover over and readjust them is just going to muddy things up. So I'll have to let that part dry for a bit.
Oh, yeah. That's so interesting. Like, there's forced pauses, or there's forced sort of how you do things, how you work on things, because of the material.
Oh yeah, yep. So yeah, you gotta know when to hold them, gotta know when to fold them.
No way to walk away. No way.
Oh, you haven't even got. Did I miss you playing the flute already?
No, I didn't play too long. I was just doodling a little bit.
The Indian flute.
The Let's Indian hear flute.
some.
To,
In my chair. Oh, you're using the chair.
Oh,
That's alright. It's okay.
yeah, you grab that chair.
I don't want to hit the camera.
Trade you this chair over here.
Watch the camera.
Nice.
Sort of how that sounds.
Yeah.
Whole idea of microtonal, like now I'm not like hardcore microtonal, sort of in terms of what I hear and what I play, but the idea that you can like it's sort of it's like a drunk person. No, but it's just compared.
If you had to play a tune that would follow a drunk person, how would that go? The drunk painter
Yeah.
flute background music.
I don't know.
You put him on the spot too much. Oh, the drunk flute.
It's like
Mhm.
I work from inspiration. I don't see any drum painters in here yet.
Yet. Just give him a few minutes. Yeah. I like that. I told him yesterday the drunk Navy guys that come out of the bar and they're trying to get back to the base, and they go to a military police guy who's standing there, and they're like, "Hey man, where are we? Where's the base?" And then the military guy, police guy goes, "Don't you know who I am?" And they're like, "Oh man, we're really in trouble now. We don't know where we are, and he doesn't know who he is."
That's a good one. It's like Stripes.
Yeah, totally like Stripes.
Refills? Is he low?
A little bit low. Pass it along here. Yes, I say thank you, Highwayman Wines.
It looked good on FB, by the way.
Does it?
Yeah, it looked good. The volume and all.
So I'm recording this to a hard drive too, so I'm gonna keep uploading this to YouTube. So like we only have like I think a couple of few viewers this time.
That's all right, but do
But,
these?
I'll keep uploading them to YouTube.
Yeah, it starts to build and build and build.
Maybe, yeah.
And the idea of you having guests while you paint every now and then, you know, not all the time.
Alright. Are we gonna?
I'm just hanging out. We're playing some music, so we'll just keep the show going.
Cool.
The fun to think also, like talking about creating or like different tools. So in India, they only play one tonality in a whole concert. Like they just play the same. They have these drony instruments, tamburas. Just keep playing that, and depending on the singer, depending on who's sort of the lead artist or instrumentalist, they change the tonality. So you would, as a flute player, you would probably have 10 flutes, so you could serve every artist. So this one is like this key. Oh, that's a cat.
Copycat.
And then, then if the person would have a brighter voice, or like a voice that would be higher up, you go. So you choose your sort of your tools depending on who you're playing with. I mean, I'm playing the same,
Yeah.
exactly same fingers,
It's
but
just-
and it's such a different, like completely different mentality of how. I don't know what to compare it with. To me, when I saw Indian music, I was like, I thought I knew what all music was. I thought I understood the concept of music, and then one day you wake up and you learn about this new style or new environment, and
What was it that was so new about it?
it's just the whole mentality, the whole way of thinking. It's like they don't think about harmonies. They don't think about steps or tonalities. They just think about like a melody that sounds like the sun going up, or sounds like a.
Is it more like jazz?
No, it's more like
Because this is jazz. In jazz, I mean, obviously there's piano players and bass players and all that, but so there's like you very clearly do structures, do like. We always sort of want to get back to these points. Like it's what we often talk about is tension release.
So circular.
Yeah, it's very circular in a way. It's like it's not just sort of going out there where
And not
that's
coming back.
yeah, and that's because of harmonic structure.
Yeah.
Like if that those two relations, our ear hears that, we react to that. If you end on something that's sort of ambiguous, we react to it, and it makes us feel something. Like we can create more ambiguity in the music. And of course, I don't know the full grasp of Indian music, but if the difference for me was like, it is just this long stream of melody. They don't use the harmony, so they just have this one tone, and that means that it doesn't have, it's not as directional, it's not as circular, it's not leading me somewhere. It's just sort of like one long flowing emotion, and that to me is like, that was just like, and the way that they dealt with rhythms, like they have this whole rhythm line where it's done, and you learn it orally from your teacher. You don't see notes. Like completely different way of approaching your craft, but it's music, and that to me was like, oh, they're doing the same thing, but in a universe that I didn't knew existed, and and that was something I just had to go and.
So where do you think that comes from?
Tradition, like humans. It's like some guys in.
So why is is this like an Eastern music way of thinking versus a Western music? Like
Yeah, for sure. There's like, and also like with the oud, with the like those two share the same idea of that the it's not divided into 12 steps per octaves. It's not as structured. It's more melody driven.
yeah.
So that's definitely something more Eastern.
Could you play something that would be more like Indian influenced with the saxophone?
I tried. The thing is that the saxophones they play on, they have a different size. They the keys are more open, because then they can go. Actually, you can't. The instrument is not constructed to it like you can't play on this guitar what you can play on the oud.
So can you give an example either on guitar or the oud, like the difference between like the Western thinking of music versus the Indian?
Yeah, well, here's a fun thing. I'll play something and I'll see if you what you like. Oh, that sounds like. Does that ring any bell?
It sounds almost like a theme, like a.
Do you have any sort of like cultural?
Yeah, it sounds like a patriotic song.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just I'm
not
trying
very
to
good-
distill like
I'm not very
some
good
of
with
these
music,
things.
so.
No. It's but any other guesses?
Well, let's see. Go ahead.
Native American almost.
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually, what I'm trying to do is playing very pentatonic Chinese. China, I don't know if I'm saying that. You're
No,
like,
yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
It does have that now. You hear it
But
now.
the thing is that there's a weird relation between that and if I'm playing the exact same tones and I'm playing. It's basic. Then suddenly it's like funky, jazzy. I'm doing a little bit like. That sort of gives the bluesy feel, but in practicality,
That bluesy Chinese music.
That's a bluesy feel.
yeah,
That's funny.
but
Yeah.
in practicality, it's the same tone.
It's the
It's
same
like
tone.
speaking Chinese with a southern accent.
Yeah.
Like as soon as a Western person, you think about Chinese music, you think of a pentatonic scale, and it's like this is like it's just funny how. So I don't think it's only Asian
Yeah.
Like Asian music, it's sort of, it's probably culturally and country based, those things, because you have something that's even more east than India,
Yeah.
but they are playing very tonally something that we would do in blues.
Wow.
Just so I think music language just have evolved around the world
Yeah.
separately. Like you also have all the tantra mantra type of thing.
So some of that have to do with the types of instruments that they're playing, rather than just, or is there something in their culture,
Culturally,
the way
I
they
think
think,
culturally.
and they
Yeah.
conceive about, you know,
I mean,
So-
even our tones in our language is different. You
Yeah.
know? There's a.
And like it's funny, like so China, like yeah, like China, Taiwan, like those countries have really adapted to the classic, like Western classic music, playing Mozart and all like those instruments, and because of their tonal language, much higher percentage have perfect pitch, which means you can sing them a tone and they know what tone it is. That's their language, I think, that is providing them with that sort of information or ability.
it makes sense. I mean, like if you study and pay attention to something long enough, you're able to like
Yeah.
have greater depths of understanding. Like I work with color so much that I know, like when I'm looking at anything, anywhere where I'm at, I'm thinking about how to mix pigments to match
That color.
look like in
Yeah,
the paint.
yeah, and it's funny. I can barely put on music without start analyzing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if
yeah,
people ask me to be a DJ,
Yeah.
the only like if I put on music that I know,
Yeah.
I'll start analyzing. It's much better for me to for someone to just put on music.
And not pay
Like,
attention. Yeah, just
because
play.
then I can hopefully not pay attention and it's like just
Yeah.
separate myself from.
Well, same with the painting. When I go see a painting either in a gallery, I'll look at something technical and I focus on that. The rest of the painting,
Yeah.
You know, like when I go to the museum, I'm completely trying to deconstruct how they made it.
basically, that. Especially the parts that you like.
Well, sometimes
Yeah.
you realize like, oh, this person that was doing this 300 years ago is doing sort of the same thing I'm doing, but I have all this technology that he didn't have. Like, so it makes you even more impressed with what they were able to achieve with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
without the technology of like photography that I have and being able to get references and models. But I see like, oh, it looks like they set up a miniature sculpture with these draperies because the drapery looks really big. The way it's folded in the painting looks like it was based off of a maquette somehow. Like if you just set up models like little figurines and put the drapery around it so you know how to paint that lighting.
Yeah.
So it's like artists have been doing the same thing for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And the technology makes it a lot easier. You can do a lot crazier stuff now. Like
Well, my brother was watching. He's a musician too. He was like listening to what you're saying and agreeing a lot on the tonalities and all that. But he also wanted me to let you know that he played the sitar ganang in his Gamalian group.
Oh, cool.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. That Gamala music is also it's very pentatonic as well.
Okay.
But it's usually they have like slightly weird pitches.
Okay.
But it does seem like I don't know who invented music, but it has been we have an attraction to something, and it's something with overtones and something that's feels natural.
Yeah.
Like also Indian music, it's funny because like if I played the Chinese
Yeah,
version of
yeah.
the pentatonic scale, I played the more Western bluesy version,
Yeah.
and then this would be the.
Almost Chinese.
It's more Chinese.
Yeah.
But what makes Indians, I mean, they do all these ornaments. But no, it's definitely leans to more that way. But the way they theorize about it is very different from the Chinese. Their ornaments are just, like super precise. But it's just funny, that seems to sort of go through all music in the world.
Yeah.
This simplified 5 tones within an octave. I mean, Indians don't even think about octaves.
Yeah.
They think that was something that
Abstract.
we did in
Yeah.
the West,
Right.
like we made the tempered piano. But it's just, I
was
think
that dictated by the instrument, you think, or
no, it was I
Well,
mean,
just a sort
I
of
think
a-
it connects to inventing astrology and
Well, it's mathematical.
like
It's
yeah,
like-
mathematical.
It's an invention.
It's
It
like
is an invention.
geometry.
Yeah, it is an
I
invention.
see.
It's really
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was weird. It's like the friends I have that are good musicians. The correlation between music and visual art is so parallel. Like, we can almost talk in the same language
yeah.
and use the same terminology. And they're talking about
It's
sound.
math.
I'm talking
It's an
about,
underlying
I'm talking
math.
about color. So like it's almost like there's a connection between sound and color that maybe if you have synesthesia, maybe that would make more sense. But like,
Mm.
but like for me to start understanding and listen to music, I can understand the rhythms and patterns and movements, and it's very similar to how color works. And just thinking about the depth of quality, like there's a, I'm creating a three-dimensional illusion on a two-dimensional surface.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about colors in 4 dimensions and 4 different aspects.
Mhm.
Whether it's the hue, which is the type of color that it is, versus the tone, the value, which is how light or dark it is, the saturation, which is like how gray or or bright it is.
And also the application.
Yeah, and then it's also in relationships to the colors around it,
Yeah.
and the source of light that's creating this color. So it's almost like when I'm making a painting, figuring out the color of the painting is a key, and once you figure out what that key is, like all your decisions about what colors to mix together to go wherever it is in the painting are informed by the source of light, temperate color, and temperature. So the temperature is the other thing, is
Yeah.
cool versus warm.
Mhm.
So all those 4 things are used to create a 3-dimensional illusion on a 2-dimensional surface, and it's
Yeah.
like this sort of little weird
Yeah.
mathematical thing.
Yeah.
And so when I'm mixing these colors, the spontaneity is created by not doing 4 parts this, 2 parts that. I'm just doing it on intuition.
Mhm.
And the intuition is based on whatever experience I have of making paintings and my understanding of how the eyes perceive space
Yeah.
as interpreted by the data of
But it's
color.
interesting. Painting have always been on a 2-dimensional surface, where music once were an acoustic thing. It didn't exist if nobody was playing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it changed to become this flat thing that comes out of speakers or
And then they're constantly trying to recreate
gramophone.
that natural sound
Yeah,
through
it's
an
like-
unnatural process.
That's for sure something that we've been pursuing for a long time, and now it's moving into this more digital era, which also happens to paintings, or not necessarily paintings,
It does,
but
it does.
visual artists.
Yeah.
Artistry, it's like
Yeah.
that has sort of like created a whole new field.
It's made it, the digital world for visual arts made it much more accessible, so it's much easier to create fantastically created visual imagery
Yeah.
without having to understand how to mix colors.
Mhm.
Because you can just use a picker to pick all these things. So there's lots of fantastic digital art out there. It's like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And it would be probably easier for me to transition into making that kind of work than it would to be somebody who only knew how to make digital work. They would have a much harder
Yeah.
time trying
Yeah.
to make paintings.
And it's I think that translates exactly to music. I mean, I've heard Deadmau5, who's like one of the biggest digital
Like I said, I get a
electronic
garage
artist.
band sound
And
soundtrack.
He doesn't know any music theory. He doesn't know how to play piano. He doesn't know anything.
Deadmau5?
I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
him say that
Yeah.
on a video,
Yeah.
and I've seen him work, and he does this crazy, amazing music. Like he's just working with sounds digitally, and trying his way. And it's funny how the digital medium have enabled a completely new access to
Well, people
Be
who
the
are
musician.
creative without technical
Yeah, it's like-
abilities.
Because we used to joke about it with people that were trying to start in the late
all the
90s.
technical abilities becomes different.
Oh yeah.
It's
It's
a
the
different thing
approach
that
to it,
counts,
because
yeah.
now it's all about pushing buttons
Yeah.
and understanding what these buttons do, as
Yeah.
opposed to learning an
And-
instrument.
And I do like I
But
do
there's some
feel there's a
sense-
lot of phoniness. There's a lot of fake, or like where I'm like
Well,
I look through it directly and be like,
It's pretty obvious
Oh,
even to
yeah.
lay people. You see people that have great sounding music and albums, but then you see them perform live, and you're like, what?
Mhm.
They can't hold a tune. They can't
I'm always
sing.
fascinated when I see
true.
instruments filling up a room.
yeah,
The sound, it blows me away to
Yeah.
this day. More so than electronic.
yeah. It's funny. This saxophone I bought, because I was going on a music festival with like 120,000 people.
Oh wow.
And I was just going there as a participant, and I knew that I would get depressed if I would be 7 days on a festival with music without playing music.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to bring something. So I bought this saxophone fairly cheap to bring it.
And you walked around the festival with
And
it?
then I started walking around, and the amount of people that would come to me and be like, "Oh wow, is that a saxophone?" Like they I was like, "Can you play it?" I was like, "Yeah, why do you think I have it?" And I was like, "Oh, what do you want to hear?" I was like, "Oh, I want to hear
Well,
a
sort
Michael
of this-
Jackson song." I was like,
yeah,
"I wanna
yeah,
hear-"
yeah.
Like they would just and the fact that they could just ask any song and I could play it, and I didn't know it. They could put an iPod in my ears and I could play it.
Nice, yeah.
That was like. And I think it was this acoustic reaction, like physical reaction.
It's not
to
that.
sound.
It's the fact that you are a person doing it and creating it.
You have
on
to
the
understand.
spot.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
something valuable to that.
Same thing with painting. When someone watches you, there's a difference between
Seeing
seeing
it
a
on the
painting
internet and seeing it in person.
and seeing a person painting and seeing the person painting it. They're like, whoa, because that's new. You think everyone sees
Well,
it.
the
You
painting
think
itself. That's why I never. It's like I had a choice. Like when I first started out, like I realized that everything went digital in my career, and like either I was going to have to go learn computers and do all that stuff, but I wanted to make I wanted to make art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something about having a tangible,
Yeah.
handmade thing, a crafted thing, that is valuable, and people like to see like, oh, that somebody with their own hands with a brush
Yeah,
did
yeah,
this,
Yeah.
and that just can't be achieved on at a level on digital art.
And-
Although there's amazing.
There's
digital
amazing
art.
digital art. Nothing wrong with that. But you're right. It's a different, I think, approach when you're in front of it. To me.
It comes back to this whole skill level thing we talked in the very
Yeah.
beginning about, like actually being good at something, not just like
Which takes time.
flashy, and
Yeah.
that's really just
mean-
like takes time.
And not just doing
Yeah.
it while everything else goes up and down in
Yeah.
life. You're just doing
Yeah,
it. You're
yeah,
just
yeah.
doing it.
Talent,
you know?
like we were saying earlier, talent will only take you so far.
Yeah.
It'll carry you so far, but it's a lot of commitment, and persistence. That's
Yeah.
what really.
How many
Yeah,
times?
but,
have
it's
you-
like- but a painting title takes more than talent.
Yeah, it
A girl
does.
sitting at a piano. I don't know if you've seen it. You love that painting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. It's awesome.
But yeah, it takes a lot of work to continue that. So like, talent mixed with a lot of effort and persistence is
Mm.
what is kind of what works
It's
out.
the real talent is in the personality, in the persistency
Yeah.
that you really want to do this.
Yeah,
Because
but
if talent was 100%, all your paintings would look the same throughout your whole life.
no, but I
Yeah.
believe that even if you don't have talent, you can overcome that with heart, with persistence
Oh, yeah.
and dedication.
You just,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Could you have done this painting that you're just doing right now 10 years ago?
Technically, maybe. It would have taken me a lot longer to do this.
And his approach would be different. Maybe his
Yeah.
energy, like he'd be looser here. Maybe
I've always, yeah.
I've seen your accentuation of things too.
yeah.
It's. I don't know. It would have been just a different.
I've
painting.
seen you. I've seen your art grow in the 4 years that I've known you, coming by here all the time and seeing, and same thing with mine because you see it grown. I'm sure if you go through, I'm looking through your books.
I feel like I'm at a point now where I understand. Like, so I spent a lot of time working and just fumbling my way through things, and it seemed to technically be right. When I look back at it, I was like, yeah, it's technically right, but I didn't know why I was doing it right. And now I know how to do it on purpose. Like I know why I'm mixing the colors right. I know what I'm doing.
Purpose. That's what it is. You hit
Yeah.
that purpose. Purpose is that's what you want to achieve. Is a formula that creates a purpose.
And when you know how to do it on purpose,
Yes,
it becomes
that's
you get more
different.
efficient
That
at
is
it, and
different.
it comes quicker.
I was in Denmark like last month. Like after I went to Egypt, I was in Netherlands and then Denmark. And in Denmark, I did a couple of workshops. It's like, what do you talk about, or how can you give something that's useful? And one of the things that I realized through the last 10 years of doing film music was that this thing of conscious writing, like being conscious about what you do, it's like knowing your purpose, or like exactly
Yeah.
that's the thing. And if I want to write something that's a beautiful melody and heart aching, I'll take a walk in Palm Spring and just like walk until that melody is there in my head. Because yes, I could sit and construct it, but being aware that that melody comes from within.
Yeah.
This is
Drink it all.
so I do feel that that's exactly what you're saying. It's like being aware.
Yeah, being aware of it.
Yeah.
So
like being conscious about the thing that you're making, but you can only be conscious about what you know,
Yeah.
and that's only something you get from a long.
Yeah, what's
Time
weird is I
spent.
didn't spend time really trying to consciously pay attention to what I was learning until recently, really. I've been doing this for 20 years, Mike. And all of a sudden I would just pick up brushes and do things, and like I kind of was paying attention, but I wasn't really. But I think what I was doing is I was doing all this stuff and just experimenting, and then I got to a certain point where like, all right, well, why is this working? You know, I did these things in these paintings, and what is it that's working about these paintings? And I started developing in my mind sort of a process. Like this is, you know, so I used to do really detailed drawings, transfer those to a painting surface, and then render them, and look at my sketches. And my sketches have all this energy that was not getting translated into final painting. So I quit doing all those detailed drawings, went right to the canvas. The problem I started running into with that was then I would end up with things like you're talking about. Like I'd end up with something where it was good, but I had to wipe it out because it wasn't compositionally working.
Yeah.
I paint myself into a corner with,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah,
so to
yeah.
speak.
Paint yourself into a
Yeah.
corner is a
Yeah.
nice thing. You know? I write myself into a corner.
And so then you have to
Yeah.
write yourself out of it too.
Yeah.
But then I started
Or you
through
bring
these
down the house
processes.
and you.
I started figuring out
Start over.
what the roadblocks were, where the funnels were. And it's like, so now when I start something like this, I don't start with. I used to do the line work and
Yeah.
paint. Now I just, like I said, I completely cover the painting with a color. And then I wipe out the shapes, and so I have all the compositional shapes in place, without any drawing in there. And once the shapes are there, then I can go in and figure out like, okay, the face fits here. All these things fit. You know, all these
So
things
you
fit.
use a cloth basically to wipe.
Yeah, painting
what you
rack.
mean is, anyway, to wipe in the shapes.
Well, where
Yeah.
most people will follow the contour, like okay, here's the pants, and right off the bat you're wrong. You're already off. If you're already outlining the pants.
So it's the overall
Yeah,
shape, and then,
yeah,
then I'm
then-
just refining edge relationships.
Yeah.
I'm not refining a line. It's like foreground and background always. Whether
Yeah.
it's light, dark, warm, cool, saturated, unsaturated, all those things. It's just relationships.
Yeah.
after.
I mean, I'm so fascinated about us being able to, like, you can see a person that's like almost a mile away. Like, you can see people really distant and you can recognize them. And it's a few pixels.
The eye, it's fun.
It's
That's
like-
what's funny about the
it's
eye.
like
You
a-
know,
we
That's,
are
the,
able-
that's the secret of painting. Is
That's-
you don't have to fill in all the
No,
details.
it's
The
like
line
you give
jumps to
enough
conclusions.
information, the
Yeah.
eye fills in the rest.
Yeah,
it's
it's
an
like
amazing thing. Yeah.
it's just really crazy that our understanding of the world is not defined in details.
No.
It's defining in something much
Much greater.
much broader.
It's your relationship to your surrounding and also your own sort of shape and who you are that the eye just
Yeah.
picks up on. And I think in painting, a lot of people get caught up in the detail of the eyes.
when
where-
we're doing it.
Because that's the
Yeah.
fun part. Sometimes it's the fun part because the detail means you're close to the end and you just want to get you just want to finish.
That the detail should always be fun. You always want the detail to be because you're right. It's getting towards the end, but it's also highlighting what you want highlighted. And it's piecing it together.
But that's why you fail when you start out.
That's because you go
It's
straight for it.
Because you're going straight. Yeah, like the people you teach
and
with
you're
the
already
branch, and
leaning.
it's like,
Yeah.
no, understand how
No.
the world works, and then it's like
then
start
you can
with
make
the shape.
judgments.
What I learned from Gabe was then you make a judgment. What I learned from Gabe was definitely is don't sort of marry the first lines you do.
Yeah.
They're just it's create the shape. Focus on a triangle
Yeah.
rather than whatever that is.
Yeah.
Focus on
It's
shapes, and then you fill in the rest.
it's almost like that's the real art. It's conforming
Yeah.
into the better shape, or like
So-
redoing.
So when you're making music, do you have like an overall thing that you whittle down, or are you finding
Yeah.
always
I
elements and
sketch.
putting them together?
I mean, depending how comfortable I am with the person I work with, sometimes I'll send them the most shitty thing. I could even send them a voice recording if I felt comfortable enough. Like, this is the melody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for sure, it's like,
But people have a hard time envisioning.
and that's the thing, and that's where, and that's
That's
was
why
the thing I
want to
was.
send people sketches. It was like they're
Yeah.
kind of nervous because they don't see it. They want to see the finished thing in a sketch. Sometimes.
And sometimes that's why I was asking about you putting lines on it, like making a shape, and then feeling that it didn't work out, and then you told me that you're painting over it.
Yeah.
It's like, I often feel that I have to go pretty much in detail before I can even present it. before it makes sense to
Yeah.
present it.
That's an
It's-
aspect of doing commercial work or doing
Yeah.
work for clients is
Yeah.
that you have to hold their hand through it sometimes.
Yeah.
Good,
And,
sometimes
and,
not,
and
but
then
a
the
lot of
worst
times-
part is when you have finally done the details and you're like not very satisfied yourself, and then it depends on the relation how much I want to reinvent the process. But for sure, this whole thing of having like daring to say, even though I'm proud of this, it's an idea.
Yeah.
It's the first step. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
to some people it sounds like this is the final product.
No, exactly. It's
But
an
being
idea.
able to
Say
rip
it's
it
an
up
idea,
or
yeah.
take half of it and throw
Yeah.
the other half out,
Yeah.
that's like,
Well,
that's an art.
you know,
It's-
and just like that, everything is creative. What people forget is the creator creates things in an abstract way. Like when he's painting, he's not painting the guitar out. He's applying layers and layers and layers. When we view it, if I was to copy a Gabe piece, I would copy it more linear than abstract. I would be like, okay, here's the guitar
Yeah.
shape.
But
and
then was
that's
that's
different.
all how he was
No,
doing it.
same thing like learning someone else's song. When you learn someone else, when they wrote it, it was all abstract.
Yeah.
And then when I'm trying to learn it, I'm like this note
Yeah.
and that note. And then I'm memorizing notes like the alphabet.
But that might be the
Yeah.
difference.
So do you have ways of getting yourself away from getting caught up in details? Do you have like ways to like break yourself out of like getting caught up in your own sort of like minutia?
So I have had to talk about this because I did all these workshops, and I think it's a taste thing. I think it's more, I don't think it's something you choose or not. I do think that it's something that you sort of grow with, because it's like, does this feel like a detail? Does it feel like, or do I like the form? Like, how do I create shape?
Yeah.
It's like I would play them some songs that I've written, and they would tell me if they liked it or not, and or they would ask me, so how did you decide of that? And I was like, it just felt right, and I think that's where the persistence and I feel that's what we consider artists.
Yeah.
But it's not something that comes from free, because you don't sit as 8-year-old and know this is how I like things to be.
Yeah, it will be this.
It's something
Like,
you.
so one thing I do to get out of, or I suggest to get out of like getting caught up in like worrying about guitar strings and that kind of stuff is use as big a brush as you can get away with.
Yeah.
Bigger brushes.
So you have like a specific tool to.
So that prevents
Yeah.
you from being able to do
So-
details.
Because if he had, for example, if he would have done a small, fine brush,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
his whole focus on those strings would have been so overdone of trying to get that brush.
So if I only had a 2-inch house
Yeah,
painting brush,
yeah.
how would I have made this painting?
Yeah, there you go. And that, sometimes,
Like, you don't have to be so little. Like it's
Yeah.
you have to find ways to break yourself
That-
out of being
Okay,
literal.
so maybe to answer that question more precisely, it's like we have a thing in music now is which everything is digital. We have all the tools available. We have all the libraries. So what I've done is the instruments to me is like that whole process of just like being able to take something that nobody have ever done before. Like if I play this tone, nobody records it. It's the only time that exact thing was there. It's done. Like,
Because it's not only coming out of that saxophone it's in this room with all the reflections
it's,
of sound and all that stuff.
and it will not exist anytime again in
Even
this
if you
world.
record it, you can't record it like there's no way for us to record
No.
now. We're experiencing this interaction through
Yeah.
a couple of cameras.
But even if we record it, that recording will be unique for that one time only. And every time if you reuse it, if you use it one time, that one time it's unique. If you reuse it, obviously it will start. That's the same as a. Then of course it becomes a replica or it's a copy, but I do feel like if you feel you're caught in details, add something that's unique.
Yeah.
Add like step away. It's
Well, sometimes you have to, like, I get to a painting, I'm not sure what to do with it, and the inclination is to go into finishing things,
yeah.
but really what has to, often is the solution is something bold and dramatic.
Yeah,
Like you just, all of a sudden, like you're working up to this end, and all of a sudden you're just like,
but that's the hardest. That's the hardest one.
because you have to risk fucking it up.
Yeah.
a bit.
But I do feel that's the hardest things for me is to I know what's in me when I start, and then I work myself into a corner. You're always working yourself into a corner. The more you work on a thing, the smaller it gets.
It's true.
But and then daring to still have the vision of, I want to make something extraordinary. I want to make something different, and do that in the end. If you didn't achieve it in the first place, like that's
Yeah, you have to have the basis, the basic
Yeah.
structure first. Yeah, the cat shit it all over me. Thanks, buddy. Cat shit everywhere.
the joy of an animal. No restrictions at all.
All right, so yeah, let's
Let's wrap it up.
wrap it up. You want to play us out? Play some music, and then we'll put an end to it.
There you go.
And then we'll maybe eat some food or something. I don't know if I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
Oh,
So yeah, follow. Yeah. Oh, thanks,
Wow.
Jesper for Jesper. Is that did I say
Jesper.
Jesper?
Jesper.
Jesper.
Anything goes.
All right,
Anything
Jesper.
goes.
Do you want to give any plugs to your website or anything before you plug it out?
Well, I'm around.
It's in the It's in the link. There's a Jesper's website. It's in the link on the.
It's
on the
yeah.
post, so.
Linking is better than me spelling it out.
All right, we got it.
But
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jesper, for joining us, and until next week.
Watching this piece.
Yeah, and talking art.
Next week,
Music.
Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific time.
I'll be at work.
So the second part of it, where you just sit chatting with them, all you could see was just the top of your head just bouncing around.
That's all right.
Yeah, I know, but we gotta work on that. And then the lighting
Yeah.
was just horrible.
Yeah, well, the lighting set up for painting, not for video.
But I mean, back behind you need to hang like darker because the light was just
Overblown it, yeah.
blowing
Yeah,
it.
I can see that. That has to do with the camera because we can't set the aperture very well either.
Yeah, but there's things we can do to that. I have some other little notes that we can talk about.
Yeah.
But it was pretty awesome. I love the conversation. That was a great conversation.
Yeah.
That was like awesome conversation.
So we had people chiming in and asking
How
questions.
did you feel? I mean, I felt like it was super cool because
was fun.
I was learning so much from both of you guys.
Yeah, it was
from
awesome.
all
Dude,
three
even
of
when
you
we
guys.
even when we did it
And,
just last time, talking about Clemens, like every time we've done this, is like we just started talking, having learning something about. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
It's fun. It's almost like this thing when you take a walk and start talking with a person. The little there's just like this tiny bit of focus here where you're like you start thinking about things that you in your own laziness wouldn't think
No,
about.
necessarily happen. Well, as artists, I have to come up here and chat with Gabe sometimes, and then as soon as we're done talking, I'm like, oh shit, I want to go paint now. Because
Yeah,
you
you
have
get
to
inspired.
hear it.
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
hear it
yeah.
out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. It's I mean, it's easy to think that you have wisdom to share with the world.
It's insights.
It's
like not everybody.
And anecdotes too, you know, you gotta tell.
But the crazy thing is that
You
this
gotta tell
world,
stories.
like you talked about how there's no art in school.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that painful to think about?
Yeah, and honestly, that's a reality. I go on a festival, and almost every person I meet, they haven't seen the live instrument.
Isn't that weird?
They have never heard live saxophone, and they've heard all these tunes. Like usually, they want me to play these stupid techno
Of
tunes.
course.
Because that's what they know
That's what
saxophone
they
from.
know, exactly. That's
And-
true. It's true.
And I do feel like that spending your whole life on it brings you to some level that where you can actually share it. So
Yeah.
it's super. I mean, I love talking about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Whenever somebody reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, do you have time to talk about this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." It's like
First thing when I do when I walk into someone's house is two things. One is there any art around? And is there any musical instruments around?
Yeah.
Because that says a lot.
It's like giant shit.
In their toilet?
like, was this as good as my own time?
So if I'm ever knocking on your door, I just want to say hello.
I have friends like that. They walk past me.
It's like,
Dude. Walking home.
Yeah, it's right on the left by the door, front door.
Oh man. What were you thinking? Barbs?
I don't know. Are you guys hungry or anything?
I gripped right when I got here, but I can go grab a drink or something somewhere.
I could eat.
I guess you'll eat. Pho 87 again, maybe?
What was it? What'd you say?
Pho?
We did pho the other day.
Yeah.
I think driving anywhere right now.
Yeah.
So on Friday.
If you go to Wendy's Tortas,
Wendy's.
or you just go down to Barbara's and get some food there.
I'll do a whiskey.
All right, Albert makes the announcement. He'll do a whiskey.
I will have a whiskey.
I think he's got get shit done on his door. You should put.
And drink whiskey.
I'll do a whiskey.
Shit, this guy right here.
So yeah, I think we just keep doing this. Even it doesn't really matter if we get that many viewers or not.
How about
We'll continue to refine how we set it up so that.
how about a
makes-
weekend one,
makes
like
better.
Saturday, when people are just chilling at their house? And
Maybe,
Yeah,
but part of it is the repetition on a specific time.
You're right, it is. And it's got.
That's true, and then also just a little bit of the quality things that I know that we can touch up, and then just the intros and outros, things that you really need because
Well, we can do that for uploading to YouTube.
Exactly. So basically, what I was going to say is afterwards, like you can go onto your like later on, because then you know what we've already gone through and what we talked about, and then you can do the intro and the outro. And
Well,
then
I wanted the one thing I wanted to do better is we need better cameras eventually. To
course.
have nicer cameras to put on. You know, that we can switch. We need someone to have a switchboard to switch between views.
which is why I could be on my computer
yeah,
and have a
Oh, yeah.
switchboard right there,
Yeah.
switching up
Yeah.
people who are talking.
Yeah.
Because I'm always
Responding back.
What my mind is on is like we've got Jesper here. We're going to be talking about
Yeah,
music
yeah.
and painting.
So
right?
having a nice camera shot that's on him on any other guest that we have.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
and
his
it-
sound. We need to do something that so everybody has sound mic'd up properly so it sounds proper.
all those things will be pretty cool to add layers in as we're going along, because we were really blown out with light and all of that. It didn't look great, but
Well, we're doing it.
Content.
This is what any sort of creative project is. You start with what you have,
Yeah.
and then you
Fix it,
self-correct
no.
as you go forward. Like, all right, well,
We're
this
all
will be
little
approved.
amoebas right now.
I'll come back in a year and it's BBC.
It'll be
No, we'll have a table here with
table
with
here,
microphones and-
P-shaped
Yeah.
table. It'll be all perfect.
Yeah. And you won't be allowed in the room. Like, no, Jesper, you're not allowed.
You're not pretty enough to come around.
We'll have glass doors on
Make it
everything, so
there.
it'll all be soundproof.
It's all on air.
Yeah. And Gabe will be replaced by Kim Kardashian.
This my butt will be. I'm epic.
Yes.
Oh yeah. No good.
No, I'm still amazed at how when you just put strings there, how much
It adds so much more light to it also, or like reflection.
Yeah, and also doing it so it's not perfectly straight lines. It gives a little bit of sense of
Strumming.
vibration.
It actually
Strumming.
feels like he's
Yeah.
playing.
Playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love that it's not all straight,
Most people, 90% of the time, would sit there trying to do the straight and damn it.
And I don't know if the frets are counted right. I just
No,
found
it doesn't matter.
It's like those are the things that don't matter to most
You
people.
give the viewer information. And the eyes love to see the pattern of white, dark, white, dark, white, dark. Just like computers are zeros and ones, it's like white, dark, white, dark.
I also like how, like in the picture, his knee is like really short, but here, because he fills the space, that knee is elongated. It's not just that he accentuates the hands and different things, because even
Yeah.
the hand is accentuated.
Yeah.
The left hand there
Yeah.
looks like, like almost like an alien.
It looks like he's sliding into first base.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Well, that's what I learned from Gabe is that if you do it right, you can exaggerate, and the eye will believe it still. But wherever you exaggerate, it has to fit.
Yeah. Well, Jesper, are you hungry? You want to get some food?
Yeah, for sure. I'm always down food. Like I went to Korean barbecue after we had food. Like
Oh, nice.
that was an entire day of eating.
Oh yeah, Korean barbecue.
That's another.
If after eating somewhere else, well,
Yeah,
Let's just go
have
to
that
bars. Bars
bar.
is pretty easy
Yeah,
to
let's
do.
go to bars.
yeah, good BLTs.
Do it. I'm down.
Let's do it.
Let's go get some beer and food and. It's so much clutter here.
I'll leave
I'm
my
afraid to
stuff
put
here for
something
now.
down.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
I have some furniture that
yeah.
I'm
We
gonna
got
take downstairs.
Rainbow coming through here or what?
Yeah, well, I lost my box cutter.
Hey, thanks for being here.
I really enjoy. It's also a good time to reflect.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super stressed and don't sleep a lot because I don't. I'm too busy with my deadlines in my head. And so.
My counter.
Not your flute.
Yeah.
Just keep going. It's not
But
circular.
it's
Because you get in your head and you're like this circular thing. I gotta get it done, and then I gotta do that, and then I wake up tomorrow, and then I gotta do that, and then I wake up tomorrow, and right when you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, I just need to go.
I had my conducting teacher in Amsterdam. This cool older dude in the 70s. Lucas Fist, no, he was more. He must have been in like 75. It's like the conducting is all about but like everything has to be conscious. You don't just do something because you want it. It's like because it's very simple what you do. You just like moving air. So that's why you should never do something that you're not conscious about. It's like that should be a life philosophy. It was my life philosophy for 2 years. It's this idea that we wake up and not just doing something mindlessly. Like it's really interesting to be conscious about all the actions that we do.
Sure, it's like this philosopher got up and was talking about his philosophy, and this lady asked him a question. It was like, so in Eastern ways of thinking, we don't really need coherent. Like everything you do in the West has to be this coherent stream, you know. That you have to have all of these answers to everything, and like what. And she went off about the coherence, and then he went back to him, and he goes, "Well, you're asking me this question. Do you want my answer to be coherent?" You know.
Yeah, so
You get what you ask. You get what you ask, exactly.
but it's, I mean, and then, I don't know, I think later, now, I mean, I do appreciate structure to some extent, like, it makes it easier.
Efficient.
It's
Efficient, you know.
We talked about meals the other day. It's like, for me, to get up and just eat that one thing, and then I can,
Yeah.
that I don't spend brain capacity
Making
the choice.
Yeah.
It's like, so,
It's like, do I exactly, do I eat quick and
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a choice you're making.
so there's, I mean, I'm not against structure, but the idea of being critical about your decisions.
You
and-
make too many calculations, and then you just get.
Yeah, it's like, it's just life is not about repeating itself. It should be, I had
That's
this.
exactly what life is, reproduction.
Yeah, well, that's the one, no, but that was what life was about. But that has changed.
That's what life does, but that doesn't mean that's what it's about.
Do you?
No, I mean, we are on this next level.